to other workshops, which I'll describe after Dr. Waisman has presented. So I think it would be good to center ourselves in the place where we are currently in this time of reconciliation. So I wanted to just acknowledge that the Autism CanTech program is located across many traditional and treaty lands, including the unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples of the Kakite and Coquitlam First Nations to the west in what we know as British Columbia, through the treaty lands and traditional territories of the Nehiawak, also known as the Cree people, the Dene, the Stoney Nakoda, the Nakota Sioux, Tsuut'ina, Anishinaabe, Métis, and Inuit, all the way to the traditional lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit, in the place of the Alders along the Humber River watershed, and the Mi'kmaq territories all the way in the east in Nova Scotia. So the Autism CanTech team and all of our learners, participants, teachers, project managers at Norquest College, which is the lead in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, is dedicated to ensuring that Indigenous voice is centered, honored, and respected. And in this spirit, we invite you all here today to reflect on your relationship to the lands on which you're currently located and take action for positive change in your community in this time of reconciliation. So I just wanted to quickly check in again, Dean, with you as to where we're at before I introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. T.C. Waisman. Are you around to give me a bit of an update as to where we are with entrants and various participants? Looks like Dean's in the room, but TC, are you able to see and hear me? Okay, good. So you're actually able to come up on the screen here. Perfect. You want to just quickly do a mic check? And
yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Yeah. Everyone want to just write in the chat with a thumbs up or an applause or an emoji or yes, there Perfect. We go. Yeah. So
yay.
You can hear us. So I think I'll pass it over to you if that works. I know you're on a timeline today, so I'll do a quick intro and then hand it off. Does that work for you?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. So Dr. Waisman is an Indigenous Pacifica, South Asian, and Asian non-binary person who was late diagnosed as autistic at 48 years old in 2017. And I know she doesn't look like she was 48 in 2017, but alas, when you have a wonderful career and you light the world with so much light like she does, you stay young forever. So since her diagnosis, she's co-founded the Autistic Researchers Committee at the International Society for Autism Research, so that's called INSAR, and became an inaugural member of the Autistic Researchers Review Board for the Autism Intervention Network on Physical Health. So this is known as AIRP, where she was tasked with reviewing grant applications to ensure research conducted through AIRP ultimately aims to improve the health and well-being of autistic people as defined by them. So incredible community-led, for community, by community work that Dr. Waisman has been leading for many years, both internationally and back here on the unceded territories in Vancouver. So TC's based in Vancouver, where she continues to speak, write, and guest lecture at the crossroads of, get ready for this list, folks, autism, disability rights, intersectionality, universal design, equity in education and the workplace, and the social systems that surround those identities. And I know since my time working with her and having the great privilege to be a colleague in this space, I have learned so much, and I'm so excited to hear from Dr. Waisman this morning. So please join me with a very warm virtual welcome for Dr. T.C. Waisman, and let's all clap. And yeah, there's lots of applause happening. So I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks so much. This is a great interview. Wanted to say that I'm going to put my formal voice on now and speak from a very formal place because I feel like this is a really special moment for all of us, me, myself included. So here we go. So thank you, Erin Waugh, project lead of Autism CanTech, and truly a leader extraordinaire. Distinguished faculty members, esteemed guests, and graduates of 2023, it is an absolute honor to be here with you today to mark your extraordinary achievements and help you celebrate your transition into the next phase of your life. So graduates, you come from 3 phenomenal colleges across our country, and you represent the best of what Canada has to offer to our nation and to the world. Founded in 1970, Douglas College is the largest degree granting college in British Columbia, serving close to 25,000 students annually. Known for its diversity, the college creates an inclusive environment for all students. And if you hike the hill to the New West campus every day, you'll also be in the best shape of your life. With their Autism CanTech program, amazing Eritrean lasagna recipe, and staff and students who speak over 70 languages across their campuses, Norquest College truly illustrates their philosophy of we are who we include. And by the way, Norquest, I'm really going to need the recipe for the lasagna, or please invite me to the next feast. I know I'm in Vancouver, but I'll try. Providing career-relevant hands-on learning, Humber College focuses on responding quickly to local needs and works with industry to ensure their graduates succeed after graduation. And as president of Humber College, Anne-Marie Vaughn so aptly put it, every student has their dreams, and these dreams are as unique as they are. So today we celebrate how truly unique each of you are, graduating cohort of 2023. Now, you may not know it, but already you're changing the world. Michelle Obama, attorney, author, and former First Lady of the United States, once said, "If my future were determined just by my performance on a standardized test, I would not be here today, I guarantee you that." And personally, I certainly would not be here either if that were the case. Now, some of you just heard that I'm an autistic doctor of education, working to change the impactful social systems at the crossroads of autism, intersectionality, universal design, and disability justice. A few of you know that I'm 54 years old and I started my doctoral degree just 1 month after I was diagnosed at 48. But one thing people don't know, because I've hidden it really well for many years, one thing you don't know is that I've spent most of my adult life failing college and university courses on my way to getting here today. I can honestly say to you, out of everyone here today, I'm probably likely the one person who has failed the most to get here. So take that to heart when you assess your own educational trajectory and know that all roads lead to this moment. So, how is it that an old Black autistic woman with bad eyes and debilitating arthritis was asked to celebrate your success? Well, in short, because like all of you, I persisted. I didn't know that I was autistic for almost half a century, which to some is a lifetime. I had a tough time being in classrooms and being on campuses every day. I know some of you do too. I experienced being overwhelmed. I experienced anxiety and meltdowns and shutdowns. And I experienced challenges being self-agentic in higher education. And these things combined with the fact that I did not know I was autistic meant that I experienced barriers that caused me to fail college many, many times and try again many times over the decades. One thing I had going for me was the fact that I was autistic and I really didn't know how to take a hint. I had teachers tell me education was not for me. And I thought, that's nice if they care. I kept coming back. I wanted so much to get an education, but the structure of education at the time just was not accessible for some of us. It would be decades later that the education system began to offer distance learning, and I was in the right place at the right time to benefit from this more inclusive model. But let's face it, I probably would have waited for the right time even if I was 80, because I just don't know how to give up. In the early years of distance learning, I remember writing papers by hand, putting it in manila envelopes, and mailing it to my instructors to be marked. And 5 business days later, voila, manila envelope with my marked papers. Literally an autistic's dream. Education without too much interaction, almost no bias, very little prejudice, and something arriving in the mail every other week like a holiday gift. Years later, online learning came to be, and finally I found my groove. I chose a master's degree with a very short summer residency, and then 15 years later, a research doctoral degree, again with a short residency, and it was heaven. By the way, it took me 15 years to recover from one degree to the other, so that's why. What I learned during this time was that, well, I might not be that swift at getting the hint to quit things. And I learned not to internalize barriers that exist that will keep some of us out because those barriers are real. In fact, when those barriers were removed with the creation of online learning, I was able to succeed. And eventually, I created a life for myself, being able to assist the education system and other social systems to improve their inclusivity by using universal design models to remove barriers. So, why am I speaking to you today? Well, the fact that I have been asked to be here with you is in itself a small personal miracle. You see, I have the very big privilege of living long enough to know that the world can and will change. And if you're persistent enough, you may be able to ride that wave of change no matter how old you are. And you may become something of a marker for those on their own educational journeys. So I stand before you, or sit as the case may be, a marker to celebrate where you are and where you've come from. But today is more than just a celebration of what you've achieved educationally. Today is a celebration of how much you've come through to get here. You, class of 2023, have been through a time in history that is unparalleled. History will look back to you and say, how did they do it? How did that graduating year make it through all the world events that surrounded them and not give up? I just want to take a moment to remind you about what you've come through to get to this moment today. Now, stay with me here. This is not a talk about the ills of the world. This is a love letter from me to you, a reminder to you and all those around you of how you've already succeeded and how much you fought through to be here. You, class of 2023, have lived through the Great Recession of 2007, which was the longest economic downturn since World War II. You've endured the rising cost of living, and you've come through humanitarian crises in South America, in Africa, and Western Asia, just to name a few. You witnessed the Fukushima nuclear disaster. You watched Britain leave the EU, and you saw climate refugees leaving their beloved homelands in the hope of survival and a better future. You are a part of the society that brought about the hashtag #MeToo movement, and you were there when the world held their collective breaths when George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were murdered and the Black Lives Matter movement lit a fire of change around the world. You have experienced a worldwide pandemic for the last few years of your academic careers. You wore masks and you lined up for toilet paper, and still you persevered. You made it to this moment of your graduation. You are persistent. As the Roman poet Ovid once said, be patient and tough, for someday this pain will serve you. Remember the lessons that these past few years have taught you and bring those skills to the next phase of your life. You've already proven that you have the ability to persist in the face of adversity and to continue on your path towards reaching your goals. That strength, that fortitude, that wisdom to know when to keep going, when to slow down, when to leave, when to come back, will serve you for the rest of your life. Continue to use these skills now and in the future to strengthen your well-being and your heart. Take care of your mental health. It affects every aspect of your life. Reach out and ask for help when you need it. Stay connected to your communities of choice and help each other out when you see a need. Learn to tell the difference between your version of a groove and a rut. And be honest with yourself when you're in a rut. You are your best spokesperson and your best advocate, and you've made many good decisions to get here. So trust in your ability to make good decisions in the future. You getting to this moment of graduation is itself your own small personal miracle because each of you has your own story of commitment and tenacity as autistic individuals living in a sometimes disabling world. You are changing the world just by daring to resist stereotypes, to move through your own life confidently, and to persist in spaces that did not accept us in the past. The story of how you came to take this educational journey is worthy of being told, and I hope you will tell it long after today. You are the graduating class of 2023, and no one knows better than you that it takes audacity to have a dream and persistence to reach a goal. Attorney Michelle Obama also said, we need to do a better job of putting ourselves higher on our own to-do list. I implore you, a group of researchers, activists, and change makers in your work, in your relationships, put yourself at the top of your own to-do list every time. You are your own best ally, and your mental and physical health depends on you making yourself a priority. The world has a place for you in the shape of you, and no one else will do. We really need you. And so, my dear graduates, I leave you with this. I think I can speak confidently when I say that I stand alongside your faculty members, your staff, family members, parents, and friends in recognizing that you have already succeeded in a time that we'll never experience again. And you've done so much to get to this moment. We are inspired by you, and we cannot wait to see what you do tomorrow. Congratulations, Autism CanTech graduates of 2023. This is your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Weissman. Your words inspire all of us. Knowing the difference between a groove and a rut, what great words. And the importance of course, graduates, right? Telling our own stories to everyone, even if they sometimes don't want to listen. So let's all put ourselves higher on our own to-do lists and make our own mental health and physical health a priority. How lucky are we to have such an amazing mentor leading the way in autistic education and research? So thank you. Thank you so much, TC, for being here.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
All right. Well, we'll be talking soon. And TC is a huge part of the community that we're building here. And today the focus is on you graduates. So we now have a few incredible workshops that are planned for you. So this is kind of the workshop portion of today's agenda. So we have a couple of different options for you to choose from, and I'll describe here exactly what that's going to look like. But first, we are going to do the first of 5 door prize draws for gifts from one of 5 autistic-owned businesses. So the planning committee has done an incredible job of ensuring that this entire event is autistic-led and autistic-driven, and we have 5 door prizes from autistic-owned businesses. So the first door prize is from El Aviv, a company that creates wares and wearables. The company owner says that they combine their artistic style with a deep respect for the natural world and incorporate recycled fibers into all of their creations. The company's energy use is offset by solar power, producing sustainable art to adorn both your body and your home. And the winner is, I think Bradley or one of the team members will provide the name. So I'll turn it over to one of you two to give us the winner of the very first door prize from El Aviv. Looks like the winner is Daniel Prickerts. Congratulations, Daniel, on your door prize victory. Maybe throw an emoji in the chat that shows us just how thrilled you are to win this first door prize. Congratulations. Look at all that applause. Okay, so back to our workshops. Here's how this portion of the graduation is going to look. So depending on the workshop you'd like to attend, you can either stay here and attend the reasonable accommodations, how to ask for them, and what to expect workshop. Or you can go to the top of your page to the event map. So don't click on it just yet, but you can go up to the event map where it says event map. And when you click there, you'll see belonging over fitting in workshop. So if you follow that link, it will take you directly into that workshop. There will also be a link in the chat, but please note the link in the chat is a little bit more confusing because then it opens two screens, this one that you're on now and the workshop one. So once you're in the workshop one, you'll have to close the other one so that you can hear everything going on in the workshop. So my suggestion, go up to the event map and click on that one to go to the workshop belonging over fitting in, if that's the one you would prefer. Otherwise, reasonable accommodations, how to ask for them and what to expect will be here. Now, just one more quick, I guess, outline here. At 12:30, after the first set of workshops, there'll be a panel discussion back in here. And so you'll get directions about how to come back to the main room after. So I believe, Dean, we can now move to the workshop portion, correct?
Sorry, yeah, so the workshop, am I echoing as well? I thought you have an echo here. I'm not sure if there's a...
I'll turn my mic off.
You might, yeah. I'm probably echoing too. Yes, follow the event map. And then if anybody has have people still experiencing issues getting in the room, I just want to put this out. Have them clear their browsing history and cache, or email us directly so we can get you direct support. And also, I'll have Owen or one of the guys chip in with the YouTube link, and then we'll see you over in the other room. And sorry, and I missed that question. There's got messages and getting some people in the back supported.
No problem. So I know we're a little bit behind. So do we want to go straight into the workshops now?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So once again, everybody, reasonable accommodations, how to ask for them and what to expect is here. So just do nothing, stay here, and that will begin shortly. Or if you want to go to belonging over fitting in, that workshop, you head up to the event map link at the top of your screen, click on event map, and then it says Autism CanTech Graduation 2023 Workshop. You click on the blue enter, and you'll go into the belonging over fitting in workshop. And again, like Dean said, if you have any issues, please clear your cache, refresh your browser, and try to go into the workshop again. And if that doesn't work, he's put his contact info in the chat there. Okay, so enjoy the workshops, everybody. We will see you back here at 12:30.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes to migrate where they want to go. And Dean, if you're here, I have a video to share as part of my presentation. Would you like me to, thanks, Nuru. Would you like me to put the link in the chat for the video, or can I share the sound when I'm presenting? Oh, maybe he's not here. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Owen. All right, so let's see if I remember how to do this. Share system audio, stream to, excellent. All right, so yes, let's get started here. There bring up all my screens here. Lovely. So welcome to National Graduation 2023. The workshop here is on reasonable accommodations, how to ask, and what to expect. So before we get started, I want to share with you a little bit about myself. So my name is Christina Viscaccio, and I'm one of the career coaches with Autism CanTech at Northwest College. I go by the pronouns she and her, but I'm also super cool with they and them. In my 20s, I worked at a bank before deciding to return to post-secondary in my late 20s. I obtained a Bachelor of Arts honors from MacEwan University, as well as a Master of Arts and Bachelor of Education from the University of Alberta. And upon graduation, I started work here at the college. I've accumulated over 10 years of combined experience working in education, including students of varying abilities, Indigenous students, newcomers, and English language learners. I also bring 5 years of coaching experience to my role in ACT, with expertise in helping post-secondary students develop academic and executive functioning skills. Last year, I came to identify as autistic, and much of what I'm presenting is coming from my lived experience, as well as my observations of what has supported student success. Also, much of this presentation draws from Alberta's duty to accommodate. If you're joining us today from a different part of the country, please consult your provincial legislation or the Canadian Human Rights Commission. So here's what you can expect for today's agenda. We are going to discuss the following questions. What are reasonable adjustments? What are some common reasonable adjustments? How do I ask for reasonable adjustments? What can I expect from the employer? And then we'll have some time at the end for a Q&A. If any questions come up for you while I'm speaking, I encourage you to write them down or put them in the chat so I can address them at the end. Mostly because it's hard for me to go between a couple different tabs and screens here, so it'll just be easier for me that way. And so by the end of the breakout session, you'll be able to define what a reasonable adjustment is, list some common reasonable adjustments, recite the 8 steps to ask for reasonable adjustments, and know what an employer must do in response to your request. So first things first, what's a reasonable adjustment? Well, to start to have an understanding of that, we need to look at what it means to be reasonable. So employers have a legal duty to take steps to meet an individual's needs to the point of undue hardship. Undue hardship happens when the change would be significant or a significant enough challenge for the employer, such as a huge financial cost or a disruption to their business. So when asking for a reasonable adjustment, employers might consider how effective is this adjustment going to be in meeting the individual's needs, how practical is the adjustment, and how accessible are the resources and financial support required to provide the adjustment. In most cases, changes are simple and affordable. Keep in mind, though, that what may be reasonable in one situation may not be considered reasonable in another. Regardless, the employer has a legal duty to meet the individual's needs. So then, what's an adjustment? So I started this presentation with the title Reasonable Accommodations, but there's a growing trend to use the term adjustment instead of accommodations. So accommodation implies someone is requesting special treatment rather than the fair treatment to which they are entitled to. What the word adjustment does is it reframes the onus for the change to the environment rather than on the person with the disability or with the need. So when we put these two words together, a reasonable adjustment is simply an affordable change to the environment in order to meet an individual's needs. So changes can be made to the physical workspace, the way things are expected to be done, or to provide someone or something to help the employee at work. Essentially, it's about having what you need to succeed at work. So I'd like to now share with you about a 4-minute video from the Job Accommodation Network, or JAN, that outlines what reasonable adjustments are. Some common examples of reasonable adjustments, as well as steps to take to ask for them. You'll hear the term workplace accommodations, used instead of reasonable adjustments. As well, you'll hear references to American legislation like the Disability Act that isn't applicable for Canadians. Again, I highly encourage you to refer to your provincial legislation or the Canadian Human Rights Commission for details on the duty to accommodate. Now, to ensure there isn't an echo, I'm going to mute myself before starting the video.
Everyone needs the right tools to perform a job. Chairs for employees who work at desks, ladders for roofers who need to get on top of a house, even lunch breaks for people who need food to get through the day, you know, like we all do. It makes good business sense to have a workplace that accommodates everyone's needs. And
Video stopped, Christina.
laws like the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, and the Rehabilitation Act are there to make sure workers with disabilities are accommodated too. So, what kind of accommodations are we talking about? Special privileges for special people, right? Gold-plated hover chairs? Trained seeing eye unicorns? Not even close. Turns out employees with disabilities aren't particularly special, and neither are the accommodations they need to do their jobs. In fact, they're pretty reasonable. Literally, it's why the ADA calls them reasonable accommodations. An accommodation is any change in the environment or in the way things are done that enables an individual with a disability to enjoy equal opportunities to work. Miguel works as an office assistant, and his low vision makes using a computer monitor difficult. So his employer provided screen reading software that reads aloud on-screen text and image descriptions. That's a reasonable accommodation. June is a bookkeeper who experienced a traumatic brain injury. Concentrating for long periods of time is exhausting for her. So instead of taking one long break, her employer allows her to take several short breaks. That's a reasonable accommodation. And according to the Job Accommodation Network, JAN, the majority of workplace accommodations, 59%, cost absolutely nothing. But if there is an expense, there are tax credits and other incentives out there to support businesses in creating a more accessible workplace. So how do you go about getting a reasonable accommodation? You're the expert on what you need. So if you need something, ask for it. Step 1, research simple solutions. While you may be the only employee at your job with your disability, odds are that someone somewhere has a solution you're looking for. Resources like JAN have whole catalogs of useful real-life solutions to learn from. Step 2, notify your employer. Notifying your employer of your need for an accommodation starts the process, whether you speak with them or send them an email. You may need to provide a medical letter or other documentation if requested. You do not need to tell your employer everything about your disability, just how it might affect your job duties. Step 3, negotiate. Finding the right accommodation is not a one-step process. It's an interactive back and forth conversation. Your employer may propose a different accommodation than the one you suggested. Consider whether their idea would be effective, or make another suggestion. And you may need to propose more than one accommodation before finding the one that works for everyone. Step 4, approach a higher level colleague. If your employer rejects your requested accommodation without making an alternative offer, or if your employer refuses to discuss your request, communicate your request to a higher level individual, like your supervisor's manager or the HR department. It is a good idea to keep notes about who you spoke with and the date. If all else fails, there's step 5, file a claim. If you're not getting anywhere with the higher-ups, there are agencies that can help. Filing a claim involves a lot of paperwork and sometimes short deadlines, so it's important to move quickly. No matter what steps you take, always remember that asking for reasonable accommodations is not about getting special favors. It's about getting what you need to get your job done. For more information in Washington State,
Okay, so the rest of that video is just promoting the disability rights in Washington, which is not applicable to us. And thank you everyone for your patience. I did not realize that if I clicked in the chat, then it would pause the video. So thank you for bearing with me as I figured that out.
contact.
So, quick check-in. Can anyone mention, or does anyone know the answer to what a reasonable adjustment is? You can type your answer in the chat. And you can put it into your own words. It doesn't need to be the exact definition. Yeah, excellent definition there. Making changes to satisfy your own needs. It can be more time on your own, which is an excellent example, and finding a way to work in a proper condition. Fantastic. And simple change to the typical environment that can support someone's productivity. Lovely. Excellent. Okay. So moving along, what are some common reasonable adjustments? So some of these have already been discussed in the video and have been alluded to, but we're going to talk a little bit more specifically and give you some more detailed examples. So before you're hired, you can start to ask for reasonable adjustments. So this could be making changes to the format of an interview. Rather than having it be a one-on-one Q&A session, perhaps you want to participate in a panel discussion or have an informal coffee chat with the employer. Perhaps you might want to ask for a photo and a short bio of the interviewer before you meet them in advance. That way you can feel like you're going into a conversation with someone that you already kind of know, rather than all of a sudden, going to meet a stranger and then having to share these, very personal details about your career history. You can also ask to have a job coach accompany you, as well as asking the interview questions in advance. Another one that you can ask for is, if you do end up doing the one-on-one interview style or even in a panel discussion, rather than sitting across from the interviewer, you could ask to sit next to them or maybe at a round table so it feels more like a conversation. And you can also ask to have extra time to think about answering your questions if they aren't provided to you in advance. When you're on the job, you could also ask for reasonable adjustments for completing your work tasks. So for example, especially with onboarding or when you're being trained up in the job, you can ask for someone to read instructions to you out loud, or even use assistive technology to help you with this. You can ask the employer to reword their questions if you happen to be confused about what they're asking of you. You can also ask for an example of the type of answer that they're looking for. And also you can ask to have the text size or the size of the text changed on the screen if you are looking at something online. And also asking for extra time to complete your work. Continuing on, once you're hired, you can ask to have that job coach or mentor accompany you. Maybe it'll be just for the first couple weeks until you're comfortable being on the job, or maybe it'll be a little bit longer. You can also ask to use your personal tools to support your executive functioning. For example, the calendar app on your phone or a Pomodoro timer. You can also ask to physically change your workspace if the employer allows. So asking for an assigned private office, using noise canceling headphones, moving the desk around as well, so it's in a more comfortable location, or if the sun is in your eyes because it's next to a window, moving that around so you don't have this glare going on, and also accessing any assistive technology such as speech to text or text to speech software. Changes can also be made to the way things are done, or processes and procedures that happen in the workplace. So for example, you may want to just take your breaks as needed instead of at a set time every day. You can be asked to be given extra time on tasks, also to adjust your working hours depending on when you seem to work best or when you're most alert and focused. You can ask to be provided with written and verbal instruction, as well as a review of what the social expectations are at work and what those guidelines are. You can also ask to receive advance notice of any meetings that are coming up. Could be maybe just a day in advance or a week in advance. As well, since a lot of meetings happen online now, you could ask to just have your video off on some days and to use the chat feature instead of having to speak up. And also to meet regularly with your supervisor just to check in and see how things are going, as well as provide any necessary feedback. Now, earlier I had mentioned, that a lot of responsibility is on you to advocate for your needs, and the video mentioned that as well. But employers can also do a few things just to make sure that the environment is supporting you and helping you be successful at work. So they could be looking for training opportunities for their hiring managers, human resources, leaders, and colleagues, so they can better understand what the needs of their employees are to help them be successful, as well as create an inclusive workspace. Employers can also consider making any existing supports available to all staff, regardless of whether they're casual, part-time, contract, or full-time. And these supports would include things like health benefits and employment assistance programs. As well, employers can look into using assistive technology to deliver discrete and immediate support, such as audio coaching or video instruction. So another quick check-in. What is one example of a reasonable adjustment you could ask for, or if you're an employer, that you could offer? And you can type your answer in the chat here. Yeah, so one, even when you're in the interview process, could there be an adjustment that you'd want to ask for? Yeah, perfect example. Asking for the interview questions in advance of the interview. Awesome. Lovely. What's the progress of my work so far? So just asking for that regular feedback from your supervisor and checking in, and extra time to complete work. Fantastic examples. All right, so moving on. You know what a reasonable adjustment is now, and you know some examples, but how do you go about asking for them? So as Dr. Wiseman said before, it starts with you. You are your best advocate, your best champion. Asking for what you need to succeed at work is up to you, and it's really your choice. It depends on how you feel about the job, what you need to be successful at work, and what you want others to know about you. So whenever you want to ask for a reasonable adjustment is the right time. You might feel comfortable and confident asking for that reasonable adjustment in your application. You might want to wait until you're offered an interview. You might even want to wait until you've been offered the position. Whenever you decide to ask for that adjustment, it is totally okay. But here are some questions that you might want to ask yourself before you do that. What do I need to succeed at work? Who do I need to speak with first? When do I want to speak with them? Where do I prefer to have this conversation? And how do I want to start the process? It's good to ask yourself these questions in advance, just so that you can feel a bit more prepared when you initiate that discussion. So, what steps do I need to take? I apologize in advance. I should have thought of an acronym for these next 8 steps. I've yet to do that. So if anyone has any ideas, I am all ears. But here are the first 4 steps in an 8-step process. So the first thing that you need to do is explain why the adjustment is needed. So is it because of a disability, religious belief, pregnancy, family status? You also need to be prepared to provide evidence or documentation. So for example, a written statement from a doctor or healthcare provider, or even written information about specific religious practices. For any disabilities, employers often want you to provide documentation from medical professionals. However, you're not obligated to disclose a specific diagnosis to your employer. The documentation you provide needs to explain your functional limitations and any necessary adjustments. So for example, if noises are distracting, then perhaps the solution might be to use noise canceling headphones or have your own office. And so it would be on you to suggest what appropriate adjustment measures would need to be taken, as well as indicate how long those adjustments would be needed. A person seeking an adjustment has the duty to accept the employer's proposal, even if it's not the one that the person suggested or prefers. So just keep that in mind going into these discussions. You might have some really great ideas or solutions for how you can meet your own needs, but you are in conversation with your employer, and perhaps the employer has some other ideas that might work that also might help them meet their own operational needs. So make sure that you are working with your employer to come up with those appropriate solutions. As mentioned in the video, it is a back and forth conversation that you end up engaging in until you can come to a mutual agreement. You are then required to let the employer know if your needs change or when they change, and also be open to reviewing and modifying the agreement as those changes arise. And then if you don't need the adjustments anymore, then you also have that responsibility to communicate that to your employer. All right, so another quick check-in. So the question here is, what are the 8 steps? And I realize that's a lot of info. So if you're only able to remember one of the steps that I mentioned, feel free to list that in the chat. So what's one step that you can take when asking for a reasonable adjustment? Follow up when needed. Yes, thank you for that, Sylvia. And make sure that when you are following up or checking up with your employer, that you are providing them, or not providing them, but you're prepared to provide them any supporting documentation if they ask for it. Okay. So you've gone through this process, you know what you need, you know how to ask for it, you've engaged with your employer and had discussions about this. What can you expect? Well, the employer does have some responsibility in this process. So first and foremost, they need to respect your dignity and privacy. As well, they are responsible for listening to and considering your needs and any suggestions that you put forward. They do need to review any documentation that you've provided. And they also need to know that they have a legal duty to meet your needs and be willing to take action. Then they also need to figure out if your request falls under any of the areas and grounds protected under the Alberta Human Rights Act. Again, if you're elsewhere in the country, look to your provincial legislation, and then your employer would have to look and see if any of your requests fall under that legislation. Also, they need to consult an expert. So for example, a human resources professional or lawyer if more information is needed. They are also required to reply to your request within a reasonable period of time. Reasonable can vary, I guess, between organizations and industries. But I would say, it would be unlikely for you to wait longer than a month to get some kind of feedback or response from your employer on this. Also, be flexible and creative when coming up with options in discussions with your employer, especially if some of those options that were initially presented could result in undue hardship. So meaning, extra cost on the company, that they don't have, or even kind of a disruption to their operations. Be open to discussing the options with you, and also write up a formal written agreement to ensure that you have a fair opportunity to work. And also, the employer does have a responsibility to be willing to review and modify the agreement if circumstances and needs change. And then also to follow up with you about those adjustments and make sure that they are meeting your needs. Okay, so last check-in. What is one action an employer must take in response to your request? Answer, yeah, very, very concise there. Yeah, Consultant expert, yep. So for example, an HR professional or a lawyer. Interview, understand. Yeah, so kind of what I'm getting from interview, understanding your accommodations and think about it. Just be willing to engage in that discussion, that back and forth with you, and come up with solutions collaboratively. Awesome. So I do have a couple of resources and references here that I used to put together this presentation. If you're curious to get access to them or to know more, please let me know in the chat and I'd be happy to share this slideshow with you. And so now we've reached to the Q&A portion of the breakout session. So are there any questions, comments, things that you'd like to share in the chat related to this presentation? I'm just going to go back in the chat to see if there's anything that I might have missed. Not seeing anything here. Oh, question here. If I live in Alberta and work in Ontario, would the Alberta rules or Ontario rules apply, or both? Yeah, excellent question. And that is quite a dilemma to be in, especially if you're working from away. I would likely say in that scenario, you want to go back to your supervisor or your employer and just clarify that with them. Chances are their business operations would dictate kind of which legislation they fall under. So yeah, I would follow up with your employer about that question. Awesome. Okay. Oh, okay. I will have a peek as well. Couple more questions. Is there an employer who's looking for the kind of employee you're teaching us how to be? Yeah, so overall, I would say any employer that is marketing themselves as an inclusive employer, one that embraces diversity, equity, and inclusion, would be probably your first go-to. And they could be at varying stages in terms of their EDI journey. So just keep that in mind, is that there's going to be some employers out there who may be further along on their EDI journey and some that are starting out. Applying would give them the experience that they need to become more inclusive. And so that's where, again, it becomes really important to speak up about your own needs and advocate for yourself. Which skills apply most to the workplace? So thank you, Amelia. The career coaches can help with that, and you're welcome to book an appointment with us to have that discussion. Let's see here. Another comment / question. Several employers are still learning about neurodiversity. Do you have any suggestions for employers that want to enhance their knowledge so they are more ready for employees when they are approached? Yeah, so there is lots of training out there, and I can't recall some of the names of them right now, but I know there's a really good one, first and foremost, with the ACT program that we've developed. So you can always reach out to any of the ACT staff for access to that training. There is also another one in Nova Scotia about autistic mental health in the workplace, and that offers some really great suggestions on how to operationalize different strategies and resources to support autistic or neurodiverse workers. Also, I'm just trying to think, there's a couple different conferences as well. Thinking the best people to get in touch with would be Jenna, Gail, or Aaron on the ACT team about that information. Would there be any benefit for touring the workplace or having a workshop before researching or asking for accommodations? Yeah, excellent question, Daniel. And that is a wonderful idea in terms of a reasonable adjustment that you can ask for. Just wanting to, have a tour, maybe even asking to job shadow someone and see what a day in, a life or a day, at work looks like for them. How can you tell if you're having a proper communication with your employer, supervisor, or manager? Yeah, that's a tricky question. Because it does come down to perception. And so what I'll say with that is, if you feel like things are going well, chances are they are. If you have a feeling that things are not going well, I would say listen to your spidey sense, listen to your gut. And in those circumstances, just document what it is that's going on, no matter how trivial you think it might be. Write a note, or if it's in an email, print off the email. That way, when, if or when something does happen, you have some documentation to back up what you had been suspecting. You can also just ask for clarification from your employer, supervisor, or manager. If you're not sure how the conversation is going, you can also just check in with them and, ask, hey, like, am I reading the vibe of this meeting right? Like, we're on good terms, or, we're moving forward ahead together. And fingers crossed, people will tell you honestly how things are going. And it's my belief that most people are operating with good intentions. Yes, Jenna's contact info. So I'll leave that to Jenna to share, or Erin or Gail. You could also just email contact@autismcantech.ca, which I can put into the chat here. There you go. What else do we have here? Any tips on making requests without the documentation to back it up? Yes. So that is one part of the duty to accommodate that is a huge barrier, which is possibly needing to provide documentation. So, and I know the wait list to receive a diagnosis right now is quite a few years. I would say, get in touch with your general practitioner, your family physician. See if you can get that referral and get on the wait list. And in the interim, have them write you a note that you can provide your employer with, saying that, you suspect this and you're in the process of determining whether or not it is the case. But this is kind of where you're at in the meantime. And often in those cases, if you are dealing with an inclusive employer, they can provide you with temporary accommodations, which should be covered under the duty to accommodate. Yeah, and that's some great phrasing, Patrick. My most productive work environment is, and then you list what would help you function at work. Chances are, like I said, most of those adjustments are simple and affordable. The only time when you will come up against any difficulty is if it causes undue hardship. So if there's a financial barrier for the company, or if it disrupts their operational needs or processes. Okay, I'll pop over to the Q&A. Oh, it was the same question from Tara earlier. Okay, so I think that seems to be all for questions, but if there's anything else that comes up, you are welcome to private chat, like chat with me directly, or if there's anything else that comes up, feel free to put it in the general chat. But overall, I'm really grateful that everyone was here. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the celebrations today.
Great job, Christina. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom and knowledge and sharing that with the group today. Everybody, let's give another virtual round of applause for Christina Viscaccio, career coach extraordinaire, who shared some incredible knowledge for us today. That's great. Accommodations are so critical. As someone who worked with a lot of organizations in equity, diversity, and inclusion, a lot of organizations don't have a formal accommodations request process. And so oftentimes just requesting simple accommodations through HR or even the equity officer can go a long way, like Christina was saying, especially in those inclusive organizations. And as long as Autism CanTech is going, please reach out to us through that email that Christina provided there. And we can always support with some of that advocacy as well as an organization. So if you're ever confused as to what to do or how to ask for accommodations, please just reach out and we'll do our best to support. Especially for those grads who might be in between jobs or looking for jobs or not really sure kind of what to do next, please reach out and we'll provide support. So thanks again, Christina, for sharing your time and experience with us today and knowledge. I don't know who all is in the room because it looks like the other workshop is still ongoing. And if you see me looking up here, it's because I have another screen. I'm not watching the rain roll in or anything. And so I'm just kind of looking up here to see if who all is in the other room so that when we join back in, we're not excluding anyone. Owen, do you know if the other workshop is still ongoing and if folks will be rejoining shortly? Yeah, sure. Maybe just check in with them and then come back and because I have a door prize to give away and I know there is heavy anticipation for that. So I don't want to do it without the whole group here. Okay, everyone. So this is probably a good time to take a quick break. We're starting our next our panel discussion at 12:30. I think we can get back on track here. So why don't we just kind of step away for 5 minutes and aim to be back here at 12:30 when I'll do the next door prize draw. So fill up your drinks, get your hot beverage, a little snack, have a bio break, and we'll see you back here in 5 minutes, everybody. Okay. Yeah, I'll just stay on then, and if people are joining, I'll just let them know to take a quick break, and we'll start back at 12:30. That's great. Thanks a lot, Owen. Are they okay? So I'll just see them appear, I'm guessing, as icons. Oh, yep, Trish is here. Great. Congratulations, Trish, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience. It's so great that so many career coaches have stepped forward to share their understanding of the workplace and of different aspects of getting jobs, keeping jobs, asking for accommodations, belonging, fitting in. So thanks so much for sharing your time today, Trish. And for all of those who were part of Trish's workshop, let's do another virtual round of applause or thumbs up for Trish. Thank you so much. We finished a little earlier too over here. We're trying to sort of stay on track. So I gave the other group until 12:30 to, fill up your drinks, have a quick bio break. So let's rejoin at 12:30 and I'll do another door prize draw. So quick break, everybody.
How's it going, Dino?
Shitty. Which okay, so is StreamYard still going?
Hale, are you there?
Oh, he might be in the other room still. Here. Okay, I'm gonna try something here. And Anton, I mean, are you there, Owen? Oh. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna close this out. Yeah, be sure anything we have here is going on live to StreamYard. So I think I said that. Oh, just don't keep our mics muted and talk in the chat so we can go to StreamYard. I made a mistake there.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you got your drinks with you or your snacks and you had a good little break. So we're trying to get back on track here. I know we started a little late and we still have quite a few people joining, but again, just a big thank you and a nice virtual round of applause for Christina and Trish on such great workshops this morning. Thank you so much to them, and also to Dr. T.C. Weissman, who shared some very inspiring words for us during our keynote this morning. So thank you to Dr. Weissman. It's time, though, for the second door prize draw. And so I don't know how you do a drum roll virtually, but maybe you could find GIFs with drums or something and throw them in the chat. And we will get our second door prize draw going here. So before we head to our panel presentation, there we go. Thanks, Bradley. I appreciate it. The next prize is from Evoke Creations. Now, Evoke Creations creates unique handmade artisan jewelry, gifts, clothing, wood items, digital designs, and more. Follow them on Instagram or TikTok to see their latest designs. And the winner is of this door prize. You will see it in your chat shortly. Oh yeah, I like the dog. The winner is Anthony Erickson. Congratulations. Yay for Anthony. That's right, Bailey. Yeah, everyone, just so you know, I know there's been some questions about how you get registered for the door prizes. So as long as you're in the room, you're put into a big virtual drum and we draw your name from there, or at least the organizers do. Oh, Suraj, I like that drummer there too. So yeah, your name is automatically entered, so don't worry. We have 3 more. And so congratulations to our first new winners, or first 2 winners, sorry, and Anthony, the most recent one. Okay, so I'm wondering, Brittany, are you here? I see Brooke is here. There's Brooke. Welcome, Brooke. I don't know if Brittany's in yet. Brittany's here. Wonderful. There we go. That's great.
Oh, yay.
And Niru. There's Niru. Wonderful. So Niru, you're feeding back, so just mute for now. Good stuff. All right, so we are going to, yeah, I wonder what that is. Are you running your dishwasher? Laundry? Is it your cat? When in doubt, just ask Niru if it's their cat. Usually it is. So yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but it does feed back a little bit when you unmute, which makes a panel discussion a little bit challenging. It just sounds essentially like there's a fan on. Maybe your fan's on. It's always an adventure, folks, always an adventure. So Brooke and Brittany and Niru are now on the stage, and I am going to see if there is an intro here. There is no intro. How do I intro Brooke and how do I intro Brittany? I mean, I just have so many good things to say about both of these people. And then there's Niru. Like, where do I even begin? You know what? I don't even think I'll try. I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we can have our panel discussion. So off we go. Maybe Brooke, let's start with you, and then we'll go to Niru and then to Brittany. Does that work?
Yeah, it looks like we still might be having some technical difficulties with our slide deck.
Okay, okay.
But
Dean's bringing up the slides?
I believe so, yes. But I can start by introducing myself. So
Sure.
hello, everyone. Okay. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Owen. So my name is Brooke Lifeso. I use she, her pronouns, but I'm super cool with them. And I am the lead researcher for the Autism CanTech program. So some of you I've met through the focus groups and interviews and photo voice. And I'm here today to talk about universal design and or curb cutter effects. And so I'll pass it off to Brittany to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brittany, and I am the Inclusion and Accessibility Consultant with the Autism CanTech program. I do want to give a heads up that I am likely experiencing a bit of a delay with how I've joined the meeting. There was a bit of technical issues with that, but now you can see me on screen, so I apologize for any delay. But I work with employers to build capacity and acceptance and awareness for the different needs for neuro inclusion in the workplace, so that there is some wraparound support where we have training for our participants, but also for the employers, so that we can just create more sustainable, inclusive spaces. And off to you, Niru.
Niru, I can't hear you. I can see that you're speaking. And sorry, the static is back. I'm not sure. Bye. Are other people hearing the static instead of?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Nira, did you mute and then you're just trying to get your headset set up? Okay, they can't hear us either. Yeah, okay. Can you hear
Nira,
now?
do you? Nira, would you like to introduce yourself in the chat? Do you have that function? And we can do like a cross accessibility thing as we try to. Cool. Would you like me to read it out loud, Nira? Okay. So Nira will be participating by chat until they figure out their sound situation. So I will read their intro in the chat. So they are Niru, and they use they, them pronouns. And they're narrow, spicy in a few different ways until the sound returns. They're no longer the moderator of this panel. So we will moderate ourselves and take questions in the chat. And then if you want to just ask questions and moderate through the chat, then I can be your voice if you're okay with that. Okay, great. So next slide, please, Owen. So what is universal design? So I'll speak a bit to it and then I'll pass it off to Brittany. But universal design is the practice of creating spaces. And when I mean spaces, I mean like community, environmental spaces, education spaces. So a really broad idea of spaces and environments. So all their definitions that benefit the most amount of people. And this comes from recognizing that people come in with diverse needs, whatever that is. Needs can also change throughout someone's life. And the social model of disability. So if you haven't heard of the social model of disability before, I know folks that have spoken to me have because I love it so much, or the community model of disability. This is when a medical diagnosis, what makes it disabling isn't an individual. It is the fact that the society is not set up to accommodate that. And society is set up for particular people and particular bodies and logics and voices. But social model recognizes that it's society and the environment that disables people and puts them at a disadvantage. Yeah, V, that is so true. That's an excellent example. So before literacy was an absolute essential for so many spaces, dyslexia wouldn't have been considered a problem. Yeah, that's a brilliant example. And so universal design is when we take this into account of all the diverse needs and attempt to design a space, an environment, curriculum, program to really be open to as most people as possible. Brittany, would you like to add anything to this? I have a bit of a cold today, so I was hoping not to talk a lot, but here I am.
Actually,
So,
I believe my mic is back.
Yeah, and there's no static.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting applause for this. Yeah, and yeah, there's other examples too, right? Like, for instance, a lot of people, a substantial minority of people lacked proper depth perception, which wouldn't be a problem if you didn't live in a car-intensive society, right? And as society becomes more overwhelming in a sensory fashion, right, there's all kinds of issues, the sensory processing issues that wouldn't have been an issue 100 years ago or 200 years ago, that are an issue, mainly more because of what's happening in our environment and less because humans were never geared towards that, right? These are standard, and in some cases these were positive evolutionary adaptations in the past, right? Like a really intense sense of smell or hearing, great if you want your little troop of hunter gatherers to avoid being preyed on. Not so great if you live in a city with 200 million people. So yeah, so there's the social model is also a way of accepting the fact that it's not just that it's a way of redefining what we think of as normal as well as what we think of as disabling. And trying to place the problem where the problem is, as opposed to, saying that society is the state of ideal existence. So, go ahead.
Brittany, would you like to add? Oh, it looks like we moved on to the curb cutter one, but we'll keep this and give some examples about universal design. So maybe we will move to the curb cutter, and I'll speak a bit to it, and then Brittany and Neera can add. So the curb cut effect is a simple design that is in most urban spaces now, is a cut in the cement sidewalk so that you can move from one side to the other without the lip. And believe it or not, this is still somewhat modern, but it's this delightful thing that now exists. And while it may have been designed with mobility in mind, people who use mobility aids and wheels to get around, it's an excellent example of universal design because all of a sudden it benefits so many people. So it benefits, and this picture does a great job of showing it, basically anyone who's using wheels to move things. So trolleys, like that person with the boxes, baby strollers, wheeled suitcases, even just people who don't want to take that extra step. And there's probably so many ways. So it's called the curb cut effect. And it just is showing that universal design example of where you do one thing, which your brain might be thinking is benefiting one population, but it's actually benefiting a whole bunch of other people. And the other general example I like to use here is two, and then we'll get into some workspace things, but like captioning. So captioning, people might think about it for folks with hard of hearing, but it's also for English language learners, for sensory, if people have sensory. It could even be because it's midnight and you don't want to wake someone up. So like, well, captioning, we might think in one avenue, it becomes this huge access need for so many other things. Next slide, please. So it is most successful, just some of the examples that I was giving, when all options are available and there isn't a need to disclose. So it means, and this gets into, I was in Christina's workshop today, so how can you ask for reasonable adjustments, but also how can everyone get this, not just people who might have a medical diagnosis? And it's not meant for an individual need. It doesn't meet every need for everyone, but it's how can you meet the most amount of needs? And it often is delightfully surprising. So I'm just going to pass it off to Brittany to chat more about universal design and this as well, the success, and then we'll share the examples together. So over to you, Brittany.
Thanks, Brooke. Yeah, there's a really great lead into universal design because sometimes there is a worry, and I get a lot of questions as a consultant on this particular topic when it comes to implementing it, and the concern that, what if there are conflicting needs? And that will naturally happen because folks are individuals and they may have different needs. But knowing that universal design is the first step, and it actually is a really great way to take care of the majority of the common needs, so that there are some resources that are freed up, whether it be, time or focus, or even within some organizations, there can be some monetary resources that are freed up that can then be applied more individually. It also provides that extra layer of safety and belonging and like a natural cushion for folks that, especially if they're walking into a brand new job and do have some needs, perhaps they can be met through universal design instead of having somebody who, needs to kind of work themselves into some courage and some like practicing some words so that it comes across in a way that, doesn't leave the wrong impression and things like that. When they're working with brand new employers who are essentially strangers to them, and that is like having to dive into some pretty personal information depending on what you're talking about. And so there is a lot of benefit to having safe disclosure to receive accommodation. But if, say, it's for something that could be accommodated universally, that then helps to create a space that feels safer for that disclosure. And it also just improves culture and belonging across the board, because then folks feel like they can access what they need, like resources or tools or different things at work in a way that suits what's.
Brittany, we lost you.
So we can maybe just move on to the next slide. So Brittany has a really great infographic here, and when she comes back on, she can speak to it more. But it's looking, and I hope people can see it, that it's not too small. So again, that kind of model of universal design or the social model. So we have the individual that might need individual adjustments. So that's the smallest circle. And then that need for disclosure. And I really like what Brittany said, that if you have a good environment, there isn't this need necessarily to disclose a medical diagnosis for accommodation. It's that everyone's being asked about it all the time and recognizing that people have individual needs. So kind of that universal design, even thinking about time that people work, recognizing that if you're a caregiver to a young child or an elderly person or need to take the bus, like you need to work slightly different hours. So that might be an individual need. And then we will get into more examples for autistic and neurodivergent specific. So SME is subject matter expert. So these are bringing in people who are autistic themselves or have learned experience of autism that could answer specifically what neurodivergent or autistic workers might need. I don't know what ERG stands for, so we'll have to wait for Brittany for that one. And then also having autistic and neurodivergent-led initiatives. So recognizing that there may be leaders who have lived experience within the workspace and really allowing them to champion what they might need, and then recognizing that everyone might need the same thing. Oh, thank you, Erin. Employee resource group. I learned something new today, amongst other things. And then this gets into the universal design aspect. So how can you create and be part of creating spaces that are really inclusionary and belonging for everyone? So how everywhere from the onboarding, how do you come into a company okay, so I think Brittany's watching on YouTube, which is great. So I will try to phone her in just a moment. So that, again, back, oh, there you go, Brittany. Thank you. Would you like to carry on thinking about this and just the outer ring?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm on the main one now. There we go. I am joining in from Zoom because the link to join the event didn't work for me, so there's a bit of a delay. But yeah, thank you, Brooke, for picking that up. And that is essentially what I was going to say, is that there are many layers and that this is a sustainable approach to providing an inclusive environment. And this can be through applying universal design or even into some other types of design that follow the same structure, like inclusive design. And so there are ways that can be worked into the larger organizational and institutional structural systems, as we know that is one layer of oppression that folks in equity deserving groups will experience. And it's not only isolated to interrelational interactions. And so this is a way that can be addressing several of those simultaneously and also provide more safety from things like burnout from the person that does need to advocate for their needs. Oftentimes it ends up falling on their shoulders to be the educator of everyone around them on these topics. Whereas with approaches like this, it can be worked into the system and be shared and build more confidence and awareness kind of across the board, even for those that don't have those particular needs. And then, of course, there will always be individual needs. There could be very individual assistive technologies. There could be ones that are more specific to the equity deserving group in general. So they might be different or they might be the same. But there are likely some individual needs, but then there already is that duty to accommodate process that is often built into the workplace. So all of these can be now working in concert together synergistically instead of opposing one another or adding extra tasks to everyone's plate.
Next slide, please, Owen. So I wanted to give some examples of the neurodivergent universal design that have come from the research findings. So we have found through our interviews with both employer partners and your folks, program participants, as well as career coaches. And learning these has actually changed how I facilitate and how I supervise when I'm given the opportunity to do so. So one is having clear itemized instructions for tasks, clear deadlines for tasks, multiple modes of instructions. So verbally walking through someone, I know someone was having tutorials videoed, and then they could go back and look at it. I'm also writing them in an itemized list and sending that in an email. And then my favorite one that I just employ now all the time is making social norms clear in a space. So do we care about eye contact? Do we care about making small talk? Do you want to meet my cat? Do we wear headphones in public spaces? And just having some of those understandings. And again, to bring it back to universal design, this benefits everyone. So having clear deadlines and clear itemized lists for what needs to happen. I might be thinking of neurodivergent people in mind, but yeah, what Patrick says in the chat, like this is just good for everyone. And then you can create a more productive, more precise space. And I really like the social norms aspect because it gets around then maybe other, it's just making workspaces transparent. And how do we create that aspect of belonging? So while I might be thinking of neurodivergency, I'm also thinking about people interculturally, or like the small talk aspect. Different cultures want different things. So I just thought I'd share it from a neurodivergent lens. And I'm aware that we want some time for questions. So I'll just jump to the next slide as well here. And Brittany has a few other examples too.
Yeah, so just a couple of other examples that I oftentimes will bring into discussions or as options in my consulting are things like having lateral peer mentorship, either as like a less formal or a smaller group, but usually it's a lot more effective universal design when it is incorporated as a program, and it can be beneficial from the view of the mentee, so the person who is having the mentor, but also very beneficial for the mentor and for the business. There's a really strong business case for things like mentorship when there is like two folks that are at the relatively same level of power in an organization, to be able to interact, discuss things, talk about some of those unspoken expectations, rules, or practices, or the unwritten expectations, rules, and practices at a workplace. And then also being able to have like a culture of curiosity. It just really fosters a lot of that layering of universal design. So it becomes a really high functioning system.
There's also the thing that, I mean, we think of disability as being this very black and white binary state, right? Either you are disabled or you aren't. But it's actually, life really is a lot more complex than that, right? Because there's the concept of permanent disability, sure, but there's also temporary disability and situational disability. And most people, as Brooke just pointed out in the chat, most people live in the gray, right? For instance, I have a pretty strong light sensitivity, and at a former workplace, I petitioned to have the lights be made dimmer in that space, which is in a library. That was a big conversation because obviously we have low vision readers. But the interesting thing was that other people in my department started taking way fewer less sick days because they hadn't noticed that the LED lighting we were using was triggering migraines until it wasn't there anymore. So and the thing is, when you incorporate universal design, it makes your entire organization so much more flexible, so that in the event of a sudden mass situational disablement or crisis of some kind, like, oh, say a pandemic, uh, it because it makes your organization so much more likely to succeed, because everyone is already used to having one of many different modes of behavior that they know is acceptable, that they have practiced. And when Valerie, I see you in the chat being like, that's scary, right? And the thing is, it's not supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be a reminder that like society shifts around you constantly. And it's not just about what is happening in your body that makes you temporarily able-bodied or not, right? For instance, my mother, who has never learned to drive because she's one of those people with the depth perception issues, doesn't consider herself to be disabled in India, where there's a very robust public transit system. Here, though, she absolutely would be considered too disabled to drive, which would make her too disabled to participate in a lot of social activities because it's a very driving based society. Contrast with a friend of mine over here who has severe phobia around being in crowds. Not an issue in Canada, severely disabling in India, right? So when we say temporarily able-bodied, it's also a question of space, of situation, of culture, so many different things that we don't think about. Sorry, take it away.
Did you invite your mom today, Niru?
No, I didn't, but she had I have her consent to talk about this. Because it's from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. India
That's right.
time.
It's too late. Too late.
Way
Yeah,
too late.
no, for sure. And we're dealing with multiple time zones, and now we have a workshop presenter who is, I believe, in the Maritimes, Frank, and so we are dealing with, I think, 3 different time zones on this grad, which is part of the joy of a national graduation. And this has been so cool. And thank you, all 3 of you, for your incredible insights on the panel. And I'm sorry that we couldn't keep the discussion going over like some sort of in-person lunch at this time, but we are going to push on to our next workshops. So could we all please give Brittany, Niru, and Brooke a huge round of applause in the chat there. There you go. That's fantastic. And we're going to try and catch up and get to our workshops because we have a number of individuals who are on a timeline. And then, of course, we have our graduation ceremony. So, yes, while the dog barks and agrees with me, let's get going with our next workshop. So there are 2. I believe Frank's is in this one. Yeah, so Dean, can you just clarify, is Frank Fagan's workshop in the main room or in the event map?
I believe Frank is in the event, under the event map.
Okay, perfect. So if you would like to go see the workshop, Neurodiversifying Your Hiring Process with Ready, Willing, Enables Frank Fagan, please click on the event map link above, or tab, sorry, above my face there, and go into that room. Or if you want to attend the workshop by Haley Dunwoody, another amazing career coach on the project here, called Handling Rejection and Getting Feedback, then you would just stay in this room. So once again, Neurodiversifying Your Hiring Process with Frank Fagan from Ready, Willing, and Able. Go up to the event map tab there and click into that room. Or if you want to stay here with Haley Dunwoody from Norquest, you can see Handling Rejection and Getting Feedback. So I'm going to pass it off now. Please join the workshop you'd like to attend. And I will see you back here at, well, in 45 minutes, whatever time that is, your time. We'll see you back here in 45 minutes.
feedback, and then examples of how to give healthy feedback. So what is job rejection? So this is when you're turned down from a job. It might happen before the interview, or it might happen after your interview, or you can get turned down during your job. So you might have an idea that you present, and that idea might not come through, and it might be rejected. Or you might get turned down from a certain group that you want to work with within your career that you are in. Has anybody in the chat ever been rejected by a job before or after an interview? Sorry, my general chat disappeared. Give me a second here. Okay, so 6 tips to overcome job rejection. So make sure that you remember it's not personal. Focus on what strengths you have. Keep this opportunity at work. So maybe start learning from it. Practice self-awareness, stay positive, and maintain your momentum. So what we're going to do is jump into it's not personal. So when we're rejected from a job or rejected when we are in the job, our ideas get rejected, that can feel very personal. It can knock down our confidence during that time, and it might make you not feel like you're as successful as you want to be or as capable as you want to be. But make sure that you're not taking this personal, because when you are in a job interview, an employer is looking at your whole package. So there might be some areas of skills that you're missing. Somebody else that got interviewed or applied for the job might have more skills or courses than you. And it doesn't mean that you're not capable for doing that job. It just means that maybe you don't have enough experience yet to make it to the top round of that hiring process. Rejection of ideas, also, that's not a personal thing. It might not match the work culture that you're in. The whole picture idea, your idea might not fit into that whole picture plan that your employer might have. So just remember that that rejection is not personal to you. It's more personal to that company and what they're looking for and who applied to that job, and if they're going to have more experience than you. So number 2 is put this opportunity to work. So this is when we are going to really dive into reflecting on why we may have not gotten this job and trying to learn from the rejection. So sometimes in an interview, your manager or the manager that interviewed you might be open to answering questions such as why you didn't get the job, what skills you need next time when you do apply for the job. So then when you know that, you can go out, you can take courses, and you can gain those skills through other work experiences that you might get. Make sure when you're answering your questions in a job interview to use the STAR method when answering. Remember that when you're in that job interview, maybe you didn't get the job because you were answering the question too theoretically and not bringing in your own lived experiences. An employer wants to see what actual lived experiences you have had in this area and if you're bringing them into play. So let's talk about the STAR method a little bit more. The STAR method stands for situation, task, action, and result. So in that situation, you're going to label and define what situation you were in.
describing what you did. So for an example here, I was put on a team for a class project. You're telling them a little bit about what you were doing to set that conversation up that you're going to talk about. Moving into that task, you're going to really want to define what the task was that you had to solve. So our team was tasked with completing a class presentation on climate change. So they're talking about exactly what they were doing, and then they're going to jump into that action. So how did they go about solving this task or succeeding in this presentation? So in their action stage, they took the lead on designating the roles and setting up meetings to ensure we got our work done. So they talk about the exact role that they took, and then what was the result? It resulted in receiving an A. So it's a lived experience from somebody that they gave in that STAR method, and they broke it down into the situation, the task at hand, the actions they took to complete the task, and then what the result was. And when you're in that interview, maybe you got that job rejection because you didn't answer the questions in that STAR form. You weren't giving enough of that personal lived experience example, and you were talking too theoretical. Any questions so far about what we have been talking about? Awesome. I'm going to move on. So our next one is focusing on your strengths. So after that rejection happens and you might feel that low confidence happening, you might feel like you're not capable of getting the job, make sure that you're going back and you're labeling your strengths to yourself. Build up that confidence again after it may have been shot down a little bit. So you're focusing on your own values. You can do this by making a list on paper or in your head, and just list all of the skills that you do have. These skills can be from what you learned in school. These skills can come from different work experiences that you've had in the past, or these skills might come from your personal life. Maybe you're really good at understanding others, connecting with friends and family. Those are all really good skills to have and gain. So when you're looking at that, you're also going to be looking at the areas of improvement. So where might have you been lacking the skills to get the certain job that you're looking for? So you can always go back to that job description and look through the job description at keywords such as time management. They might be looking at for someone that is very task oriented or focuses on detail, and start thinking about maybe what you didn't list in your strengths, and if they're not all matching up with that job, and how you can now improve in that area that you might have lacked for that job. This can be done through SMART goals. I know we've all worked on that throughout this program, and looking at what SMART goal you can set next within that job area that you want to be in. That's when it comes in handy to see if that hiring manager will talk to you, because they might be able to give you feedback as well, where you're missing some skills and where you're showing some strengths. Just so next time you're ready for that job and you won't have that job rejection, let's hope. And then you can also, focusing on that strengths and seeing where you can improve on getting that job, you can start to network. You can do this through LinkedIn. You can do this through networking events and school, and just talking to people and setting up informational interviews. So informational interviews are interviews that you talk to other people about their career experience, their journey on how they got there, and what strengths they developed to get that perfect job that they want. Through this, you can look at where you need to improve and work on the skills that you need, and maybe take some courses to gather those skills so next time you will be chosen. Awesome. So practicing self-awareness. We talked a little bit about this reflection piece in the last slide, reflecting on what your strengths are and reflecting on where you need to improve. And I know for me, it's really easy for me to write it all down and see it, even like a pro and con list for my employability skills and seeing where I need to improve. So when you're reflecting, you can reflect on your resume and your cover letter with where the and see where areas that you might be able to improve within that resume or cover letter. This is what really helps me is when I look on Indeed and you actually look at that job description. There will be certain keywords on that job description that you're going to want to take right out of that job description if you have those skills, and you're going to put them into your cover letter and resume. So really start reflecting on that, and even reflecting on it before you hand this resume in, so you're matching those skills to the job description. A lot of times they will notice the words that you use that exactly match the words that they used in their description. So you're not going to want to change the words. If they say organized, you're going to put organized on your resume or cover letter. If they say time management, you're going to use the exact words time management on both those. And hopefully doing that, you won't be rejected before the interview happens. But just remember, if you are rejected before that interview happens, it's not personal. It's probably because there was someone else that handed in their resume that matched more of the skills than you matched. Maybe you only matched 5 and they matched 6 or 7 of the skills, or they have more work experience. And with that rejection, it gives us the opportunity to self-reflect on whether or not maybe we applied to a job that was looking for someone with 7 years experience and we only have 1 or 2 years experience. And then going for that job that has the amount of experience that you have and working your way up slowly to that job that you want eventually. Yeah. So what are some ways that you reflect? I'll let you put that into the chat. What are some ways that you can reflect? Definitely paying attention to your behaviors when you're rejected. Yeah. Right. And that's why we go through those 6 steps to make sure that we're writing down our strengths and looking at where we are very capable and remembering that we're capable and building up that confidence again after that rejection. Yeah, if you have that, Emily, you can always practice with a family member or in a mirror about what you're going to say in an interview. Yeah, learning from our mistakes. That's absolutely something we can do. And that's through reflection and being able to see and admit that we made a mistake, right? And thinking about how we would work through it the next time. Looking closely at what you present. Yeah. Awesome. I see this one, trying to review a situation from an outsider's perspective That always helps too with reflecting, trying to remove your own biases out of the situation to see where maybe you could improve next time. Okay. So our next step is making sure that we stay positive. So after that rejection, to stay positive, you might end up going and hanging out with a friend or doing something that you really love to decompress from that reflection before, or that rejection before moving on. So that could be playing a game, playing video games, talking to a family member, taking a nap, going out for dinner, or going for a walk with a friend or a family member, just to decompress, maybe talk about the rejection if you're feeling really down from it, and get it all out there. And then start talking about what your strengths are to bring that positivity back into the picture, because we all have a lot of strengths and we need to remember that. And we're not getting rejected because we don't have any strengths. It's just because someone might be more qualified than us. And you can always reflect back on your ESAT. I'm sure a lot of us have already taken the ESAT throughout our courses, and you can look at that and see where your accomplishments were during that time. The ESAT is a test that students in the CanTech program take, and it shows the employability skills. So they'll go from like green is like very strong at the employability skills, and then it goes down to red where they can set a goal. Yeah, awesome. Good stuff. I'm glad you remember, Sylvia. Yeah, so you can look back on the ESAT. That'll label your strengths very well, and think back on your work experience and what you did well in your work experience. We can even look back at the evaluation through work experience and see all of the amazing comments that employers and your career coaches made about you throughout work experience, because we all have those skills and we've learned them. So just remember that you have strengths, and if you can't think of any, look at your ESAT, because that shows. And then, like I said, maintain that work-life balance afterwards. Go and do something you love or see a friend. And remember that you're not alone in job rejection. We've all been there. I know that when I was changing careers, it took me 8 months to change careers, from teaching to working in a post-secondary setting. I got lots of rejection through that 8 months. And it just took me to keep on trying until somebody actually saw the value and saw the strengths that I did have. So just remember, you're not alone. Everyone gets rejected. I've been rejected by many jobs, even from interviews as well, just because I wasn't there yet. I didn't have the experience that someone else had. So, and yeah, we're all gaining experience as we go through life. So maintain your momentum. So during this time when you're waiting to hear back from a job after an interview, or waiting to hear back from a job after you've handed in your resume, make sure that you continue to hand out resumes and hand out cover letters. Sorry. Don't put your eggs in one basket and just wait on that job to see if you'll hear back from them. Continue getting yourself out there and keep up that momentum and that excitement with the job search. Continue to look at Indeed, see what's on there, because you might get rejected by a job, but maybe there's your dream job sitting on Indeed that came up during the time that you were doing the interview for another job. And it's a silver lining, right? It's a good thing you didn't get accepted from that job, because now you can apply and hopefully get hired onto the next job that you see. And then stay in touch with that professional network during this time as well. So that means staying in touch with people that you met at school, other employers that you've had, or doing those informational interviews on LinkedIn. So going on in LinkedIn, looking for somebody that is in an area that you would be interested in working in one day, and reaching out to them, asking them for a connection, telling them that you're really impressed with their job journey or career journey, and you would like to hear more about how they got to that place, and ask them for a meeting. Remember that networking with professional or informational interviews is never asking for a job. You're just asking for a connection to know what kind of skills that person has, and what kind of education they gained over the years to get in that position that they're in. So you're talking about them. Any questions so far about this? If I am able to get emails after, I can send out an outline of an informational interview. Informational interviews are done through LinkedIn, and you look through LinkedIn yourself at the connections and see if you have someone that you're interested in talking to, and then you reach out to them. But there are questions and scripts that I can show. Awesome. And informational interviews, they do work. They work really well. That's exactly how I got this position, was through an informational interview. And I went on LinkedIn and I found a career coach, and I read their profile, saw what they did in their job, and it interested me. And I reached out to them and I said, I just told them, I'm really impressed with your career journey. Do you think that we could connect and have a conversation about how you got to where you are? And then throughout that time, I was able to ask that person where they started their career, what education they got, what skills they have, what would they recommend for me to get as skills if I wanted to go into that. And then eventually they sent me a job description that they thought matched me very well, which was the one I'm in right now for CanTech. And yeah, that's how I ended up here after that career change, after 8 months of trying. So it was through networking that I was able to change my career. Awesome. So jumping into receiving feedback, because feedback can be something hard to receive sometimes, and it can also feel very personal. So why is feedback important? Feedback is important because there was a typo over there, Sylvia. That's why it was supposed to say here. So why is feedback important? So feedback is important because this is how we are growing in our careers. This is how we grow in our self-development and our professional development, because this is when people might tell you where you need to grow, how you need to gain this strength, or how you can set this goal to gain this strength. It allows for self-reflection, and self-reflection allows for that personal growth and that professional growth. So feedback is very important to receive, but sometimes it can feel personal, and that can be hard. So types of feedback that we'll receive at work. This is formal, informal, formative, and summative. So formal feedback is more of that written feedback that you'll receive. And this is like a structured assessment, whereas our next slide is informal feedback. Informal feedback is that day-to-day feedback. It might be verbal from employers or other coworkers. And informal feedback is important because it creates an environment of trust. And if people in the environment are just used to receiving that feedback naturally from a day-to-day basis, it's going to become less scary to receive and give feedback. So formal feedback is very important to give. And then we have formative feedback. Formative feedback is more of like the ongoing feedback that you'll receive from like projects, ideas, and this feedback is to improve. So an example of this is when I was creating this presentation. I sent it to my manager for feedback. They sent it back to me. I corrected some of the stuff that they said, and then I sent it into the next person. So that would be an ongoing feedback that I'm changing as I'm going to before I do the big presentation. And then our last one is summative. So this would be a sit down planned feedback structure. This would be like your ESAT that we did. In school, you might have done a multiple choice test. So that's going to be like your end evaluation of how you did on a job or how you did on a presentation. Any questions about feedback so far? Yeah, V. Yeah, you can just put your questions into the chat. Yeah, absolutely. So if you can place your worth into something other than the feedback that is given. So that's a good question. I would always place your worth in many different areas. So it don't only put it into the feedback that someone gives you, because sometimes feedback we might not understand it fully. We might not agree with it. Maybe you want to get feedback from somebody else to see their opinion, right? Because sometimes feedback is coming from a biased point of view. You never know. So make sure that you're putting your worth in how you receive that feedback, how you treat other people around you, how you've done your job overall, right? There might be a day that's just a little bit off and you made a mistake at work and you receive some feedback. Don't take that feedback and think that this is you're never going to get better and improve. Take that feedback and see that, okay, like today I was tired. Let me take that feedback. How can I improve this? And then get a better sleep next time you go into work, kind of thing. Because you're not only going to put your worth into that feedback, but it's important to receive feedback from others, because a lot of times people can see areas of improvement that you might not be able to see yourself. And being able to receive that feedback and taking it and seeing what improvements you can make will allow you to grow as a professional. Yeah, so how do you ask the manager for feedback after receiving a rejection letter? So what you can do is email them and just say, thank you for your time. Make sure that you're showing that appreciation. And then just say, for next time and for my future interviews, do you have any feedback that you can give me on skills I need to gain and different, or how to interview better for the next time? And just asking straight up. You can even label it as you're looking for feedback. Yeah, so we'll dive into that, Emily, how you can take feedback a little bit better. Okay, I'm going to jump into the next slide. 5 tips of receiving feedback. So Self-assessment, we all benefit from feedback is another way to think of it. Connecting with your instructors, managers, and supervisors to receive that feedback. Then you can always ask for feedback, which I'll dive a little bit more into. And then how to control your emotions. So looking at what might barriers be for feedback. So when people receive feedback, they might feel some barriers, such as the feedback might be too generalized. When this happens, make sure that you're asking for clarification, and you can even say the feedback word for word back to that person that gave it to you, so they can hear what they said to you in case it's a misunderstanding, and they can reword it for better understanding. The person that gave the feedback might have given lack of advice on how to improve this behavior, which also can be hard and result in a barrier. So when you're giving and receiving feedback, if you're the giver, make sure that you are giving step-by-step instructions or suggestions on how to improve this. And if you're the receiver and you haven't received these, ask them what they suggest on how you can better yourself in this area. And then you could feel like fear of upsetting that colleague is really something to think of as well, and can be a barrier in that, because people don't like to upset other people around them. And being able to have that respectful and healthy conversation with people around you is always something to work on. And this might be wording it differently. Like, how can I support you in this way? I have noticed that this is happening around the office, and I'm just concerned. What is your point of view on this situation? Allowing them to have a chance to tell you what's going on, so you have a full understanding of their background. And then more barriers might be like a lack of confidence. So you're feeling insecure when you receive that feedback. You might feel like they have a personal agenda. That might feel very personal and upset you. And during these times that you're feeling upset, you can always ask people for a break and let yourself take a moment, an hour, or even sleep on this feedback, and then come back to the conversation with that person after everybody's calmed down a little bit. So how do we give feedback? So an example of what we don't say is, you need to bring attendance numbers up. Whereas what you could say to label it a little bit softer is, you have been taking more time off lately. Is everything okay? How can I help? So you're providing support, opening up the conversation so you can have that two-way conversation with that person, and seeing how maybe you can have a discussion on different ways to solve this, different ways to improve, right? If that is happening. And then just remember, feedback isn't personal. It's just to help that growth. So making sure that you're labeling what you heard, so restating it to the person. And then if you're feeling upset, asking for a break so you can think about that feedback. You can also ask for feedback in different ways. Like if you accept feedback a lot easier by other people writing it down so you can read it and then bring it home with you and then talk about it the next day, then tell them that's how you're better at receiving feedback. Another way is for you asking for the feedback. By asking for feedback, it's going to allow you to be in control and be ready for that transition into that feedback space. You can do this by scheduling time with your manager for that feedback. So it's not coming from an informal place. It's not coming from a place that you're not ready to receive it. Some people receive it better when it's planned. And remember that feedback is helpful. It's for you to professionally grow. And if you want to build your professional skills and get that job one day that you're searching for, that you're dreaming of, that feedback is going to be very important for your growth towards those skills that you need for that job. And that team building skills, because feedback is a way to build that relationship with your team, because you're going to have to give feedback and you're going to have to receive feedback throughout your career. So it's a really important thing to practice. Yeah. Yeah, you can sandwich it for sure. So starting with something positive, putting the negative in between, and then ending off with something positive as well. Yeah, asking for feedback is a positive thing to do before and after. Absolutely. It shows initiative to grow when you're asking for that feedback. And companies, they want their employees motivated to continue growing professionally and be open to feedback in areas that they might need to improve or can improve, right? Because we can always improve at what we are doing. There's always room to grow and learn. Yeah. So I'm going to give time for questions now. We've reached 1:45 just about. So yeah, we can talk and have some conversations and ask some questions in this space. Thank you, Jen, for the comment. Yeah. Handling criticism is an important skill. Yes. And just remember, everyone has areas to grow, right? No matter who you are, you'll have an area of growth, right? I've had feedback before on how I send emails and how I word emails, and that's totally fine. It's a way for me to grow and a way for me to realize how my words are coming across to people, because I don't always see my own biases, right? So having an outside source reading my emails, they can tell me how I sound. And taking that feedback is really important. That's true, V. Absolutely. We should always try to apply to jobs, right? Because you never know what opportunity is going to come along, but you're going to miss every opportunity you don't try to take. Yeah, absolutely, Naru, right? You're not going to get 100% of the jobs you don't apply for. Yeah, so you can always approach people, Emily, without sounding hostile by wording it in a softer language, by using supportive talk. So, can you please support me with this feedback? I would love to hear from you. I value your view on how I can improve. Areas like that. So, welcome, Erin.
Thank you. No, that's such a tough question, right? Because it's not easy for all of us to not just come across not even hostile, but just more direct or assertive. And we all know that in sort of like the neurotypical realm of employment, people are looking for certain like verbal cues that way. And so it isn't easy, I would say too, Emily, like we just reach out to some of the career coaches in the link that that Amelia provided earlier and set up an appointment to sort of practice and go over it. Because I know that the more we practice even using our own video on our phone, and the more we practice with different people, it can give us feedback and more like one-on-one feedback too, right? Such a great job. Thanks so much, Haley. It's just so great to listen to all the incredible information that you're sharing from both personal experience, but also your research and your master's degree. So thanks so much for being willing to share your time today to present at grad. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
We're just waiting again for the other group to kind of wrap up. It looks like they're close. They're just kind of doing a Q&A. So we are going to take a quick break and start again at 1 p.m. British Columbia time, 2 p.m. for those in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and 4 p.m. for graduates in Ontario. So it's about 11 minutes from now that we'll start again. So maybe what we'll do is I'll just stay here and let folks know as they come back in that we're having a break. But if you want, please go grab a snack or a drink and put on your gowns and get ready for the second half of today's graduation. So the actual graduation ceremony coming up, and we'll start it off with another door prize draw. So let's take a few minutes here to pause and come back together in a few minutes. 10 to be exact. Yeah, sorry, Marcus. I was kidding around. You know how graduations, we have gowns, but we don't actually have gowns. So I was joking.
Might have some bonus here. Michael McCreary, do you want to come up and do a check right now while people kind of are on break and pop in and out? I think you're the last one. And if Curran shows up, we'll be. And Curran, you're here too. You guys want to pop up and do a test? Give a little bonus Comics LS for anybody sticking around here for a minute. Introducing Michael McCreary. And Curran, would you like to do a check? And I see if Adam's Adam, do you want to do a check? I'll get you up here. You're oh, hey, Curran.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing? Good to see you.
I know. I look great.
You look great. You do look great.
Hi, everyone.
Do a quick tech check here at the comics and see if Michael and Pat are, well, Pat probably needs a request.
I did.
Because, yeah, we had some meltdowns this morning with the tech world. Okay, Pat's not here, but we checked Pat earlier, so bye, Adam.
Hi.
Yeah, Curran, everything looks good.
As far as you know, does this platform have like an equivalent of original sound, like Zoom does?
Are you trying to share a tab or something from?
Well, no. Sound is like when you're playing an instrument, or something. I know Zoom has an option of having it like automatically tune out non speaking sounds.
Oh, I believe it should pick it up. Like, yeah,
right.
it should pick it up.
All right, cool.
But maybe if you want to give it, yeah, as I know it picks up my dog's nails across the floor. So
yeah, fair enough. Exactly. I know. I got a new razor for my birthday recently, and I kind of screwed up with like what the thing that adjusts the length, and I had to shave it all off. Like, yeah, but you know, at least I still look young. So exactly.
Nice.
But
Good.
I don't like it now, but I'm sure it'll grow on me.
Awesome. Well, we'll watch for Michael to come back if he's around. If not, we'll just stay up on break. Gail, did you get? Thanks, Owen.
Okay.
Hey, Mike. I see a black box that says Michael, and I see Pat now.
Some kind of internet connectivity.
Hey, all the cops.
No worries.
Looks like all we get from Michael is his soliloquy. There's Pat. Hi, Pat.
Hey, Pat.
How's everybody doing? Oh,
Mike, you're sideways on your screen.
we can't hear you now.
Just need a mic.
Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Yep, sure can, Pat.
In answer to your question, no.
Michael,
No one can hear you at all.
Nice.
Start saying something, I can't hear you.
Michael can do a whole bit without a mic. I know it. Is your mic inputs on the bottom?
Yep, Mike's camera's frozen indeed.
I was talking to his dad yesterday. Everybody, I feel like all of you are any of you at home, or are you guys all on the road somewhere? Michael's
I'm literally, this is the first time we're doing this from my apartment, so sorry for the backlighting.
Well, I know that I think Michael's in a dressing room somewhere.
I'm in Vancouver for the ArtStar conference.
Nice. Let's see if refresh helps me.
I know, right?
Hey, V Drake, do you want to come up and say hello? We miss you. Or are you trying to keep your identity a secret, V?
Fair enough.
So I don't know if the crowd's going to get bonus show or getting a bonus torture.
Yeah, how's it going?
Yep.
See, do you know who it is? I do. He might have done a.
Hi, friends.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. Many things have happened in the handful of years since playing.
I feel like that. I feel like I hear whispers and things, but yeah, it's good to see, hear, watch your chats, and we're live to everybody right now. So
That we are. Greetings, class. Sal and I have taken class alongside of you. Mainly Emily and Raphael, if you can hear me.
let's see, did Michael get back in yet?
Some have given you much knowledge over this time. Jen and Haley come directly to mind. And some of you I have not met yet, but I would like to, especially if you know any jobs for me. I can send my LinkedIn in chat if you want.
Okay, Michael's back in the room. Let's see. There's Michael. I see a microphone icon. That's, I think, a step ahead. I see a black box with a gray shadow. Are you calling me, Michael?
Yes.
Oh.
Hey, Dean, are you seeing me?
I do. I see you and I hear you.
Fantastic. All right. Sorry, there was a little bit of a hiccup on my end. There's a little bit of a hiccup on my end. You can see and hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Unfortunately, because there's no specific application for me to use here, I'm just using the browser on my smartphone. The way that the image has been compressed when I don't have it flipped horizontally or vertically, sorry, I'm unable to see everybody else, but I can tell that I am on at the bottom, so we're good.
You were on, and you look as good as ever, and you sound good. And we'll tell your dad. Sorry, I ignored his phone call just now, or that was you.
No apologies necessary. No, we were just calling to let you know what the issue was. If you guys are ready to go with the show, that is a-okay.
Cool. Yeah. So I think at 2 o'clock we have a video that goes up, and then Aaron, is your dad? Your dad's not coming on stage, is he?
Yep, he's right out of frame, eating a slider.
Is he just going to use your?
I'm sorry, Dean?
Is he just going to use the same camera and mic, or will he have a separate device?
No, I'm not connected. No, Dad's not connected. Sorry, he's not going to be on call.
Good. I always like hearing him talk. So, sweet. So yeah, we'll go off, and then Aaron will introduce you guys when you come up, when you're good to go, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it, Dean. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, I'll mute this. Let me know if there are any more issues, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
And do not hesitate. Call my dad's phone if for whatever reason.
Okay. Yeah. So mute and camera off for to step off stage. Perfect. You guys know the drill. Wow. Awesome.
Right.
See you guys soon. I'll get my camera off so nobody sees and looks at me.
Perfect. Good timing on that. We are just approaching the top of the hour when we will begin our graduation ceremony. So thanks so much, Dean, for that sound check and for setting up everybody for our next portion. So really looking forward to comedy not otherwise specified. Really looking forward to that presentation. So let's do our quick door prize draw now. So this is our third, and it's another draw from Evoke Creations, who create unique handmade artisan jewelry, gifts, clothing, wood items, digital designs, and more. Follow them on Instagram or TikTok to see their latest designs. Yeah, so Liam has put a DJ there, so drum roll, please, everybody. You can find a good drum gif if you want, or some other joke. That's the only one I got because I'm a dad. But the winner is...
Oh, I'm on. I can just hear the name. McKinley Allen.
McKinley Allen, congratulations. And for those of you who don't, there's no special way to register for the door prizes. You're just automatically registered by being here today. So there's 2 more to go during our ceremony, and Niru will be facilitating those draws. So congratulations again to McKinley. I just wanted to take a couple minutes to hear from the project leads at the various institutions that are delivering Autism CanTech programming. So Norquest College is the sort of head office or home center of the program, but we also have Douglas College out in British Columbia and Humber College out in Ontario. And with a few words from both, we have their project leads here today. So I would like to now pass it over to Mithra Legault from Douglas College to say a few words on behalf of Douglas. I think, Dean, you have to invite Mithra up to the stage. Oh, there you go.
Sorry, technical difficulties there. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's well. I just want to say a huge congratulations to everybody on your graduation. This is such a wonderful accomplishment, and I'm so proud of you all for the hard work and dedication that you've put into your studies. As someone who's autistic, you may have faced unique challenges during your educational journey, but you all persevered and you've succeeded. Your graduation is a testament to your strength, resilience, and determination. It's an achievement that you should be proud of and one that you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. You've shown that with hard work and perseverance, anything is possible. So as you move forward into the next chapter of your life, remember that your autism is a part of who you are, but it doesn't define you. Embrace your strengths, continue to work on your challenges, and never give up on your dreams. Congratulations again on all of your hard work, and best wishes from all of us at Douglas College. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mithra. Wonderful. And now I'd like to pass it over to Lynn Van Lieshout from Humber College for a few words on behalf of Humber.
I'm trying to turn my camera on. There we go. I think I did it. So I wanted to echo what Mithra said to our Humber group of graduates. Super proud of all of you. I really want to congratulate you for persevering, for being brave enough to step into the program and meet this challenge head on, knowing that you would have the support of a really great team to help you get through the program. For those of you that might have experienced more troubles and struggles throughout the program, I really want to congratulate you on your persistence, on continuing to push through, even though you felt frustrated and perhaps a little disheartened by things, because in the long run, you showed that you can do it. You proved it to yourself. You proved it to all your friends and family, and you've been able to go out there and get some really amazing work experience that I know you'll be able to translate into additional work in the future. This is the first step that you're taking to get you out there into the employment market. We're positive that you're going to do well. We're looking forward to staying connected with you and hearing about all the fantastic things that you're going to accomplish in the future. And as Mithra said, autism does not define you. It is a part of who you are, but that doesn't necessarily have to set any limits or to any of your hopes or dreams. I know there's some of you that had specific goals that you had, and I wanted to say that I'm hoping for those of you who were hoping to get additional money to go and see those Raptors games and head out to Canada's Wonderland, that's finally able to happen for you, and that you've been able to take advantage of that additional pay to be able to go out and do that. And that's an inside thing for our specific group of students. So congratulations, everyone. Super proud to be here and celebrate this event with you. And I hope that you all stay connected with us and let us know all the fantastic things you continue to do in the future.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Mithra. So graduates, on behalf of Norquest, I hope you can see just how great of an impact you have on all of us here across what we know as Canada. So we have Ontario, BC, and Alberta represented. We have graduates from all across the country. You brought 3 community colleges together to deliver a program that we all believe in and that we feel addresses some of the gaps in the system. But that's all led and advocated for by you and by individuals like yourselves who want more opportunities in the digital economy. And we are committed to advocating and to getting more funds from the government and increasing supports and delivering more programs. But really, like you're seeing today, this is a community-led graduation. We had Dr. T.C. Wiseman, who was giving those incredible words of advice and inspiration this morning. Sorry, Dr. Waisman, I always get that wrong. And we have a comedy troupe coming up. We had incredible workshops today. But Norquest, all the way from teachers all the way up to the president, is so thrilled and proud to be part of this program. So thrilled and proud to be connected to all of you. And please reach out to us. Let us advocate along the way. Let us stand with, behind, and in front of you when necessary as allies to support in employment and employment searching. So please keep in touch with all of us. But now, from now on, it's all about you. So I look forward to this graduation. And we have a very special video that we're going to play now from Minister Carla Qualtrough, Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Disability Inclusion, Canada. So minister with the federal government. So Minister Qualtro's put together a video of congratulations that we will now play.
I'm Carla Qualtro, Canada's Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Disability Inclusion. I'm joining you from the traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. It's such an honor to have the opportunity to join the Autism CanTech program national graduation. I'd like to begin by congratulating all the graduates of this great program. This is a really big deal. Each and every one of you has worked incredibly hard and we're very proud of you. You've put in your time and energy into developing skills that our workforce will increasingly need in the years and decades to come. I hope you are all proud of your accomplishments. You are also role models. Other Canadians with autism will see the incredible work you're doing and be inspired to follow in your footsteps. Thank you to Norquest for creating this program, for recognizing the incredible talent and innovation within the autism community. And thank you to the self-advocates, organizations, and families here today for your advocacy and hard work to ensure that Canadians with autism are included in every aspect of our society, including the workforce. I'm proud of our government that we've been able to be a partner in this work, supporting the CanTech program. You're helping Canadians with autism develop skills for a digital economy. You've recognized the direction that our world and our workforce are headed in and preparing more and more Canadians to seize the opportunities of tomorrow. Your combination of skills development and individualized supports allows individuals to get a job and show up to work with confidence. So thank you. To the graduates, once again, congratulations. I can't wait to see the incredible ways you change our world for the better.
That's great. Thank you so much. I know there were some initial issues with the sound there, so we'll be sure to send that video out to all the graduates so you can watch it on your own. It will be on our website and on our YouTube channel, so we'll send that out as well. But wonderful message there from Minister Qualtro. All right, so what we've all been waiting for, graduation and comics not otherwise specified. So during a global pandemic, 4 autistic comedians from across the country formed a new comedy group which will shatter myths about autism, inspire change, and leave you laughing. Comics Not Otherwise Specified is made up of 4 autistic comedians coming from all over Canada, Toronto, London, Vancouver, and Winnipeg. Pat Tiffin came up with the tagline, "The world's most awkward boy band." I think we fit our own niches. Mike McCreary is the corporate pro. Curran Dobbs is the alternative sweetheart. Adam Schwartz is the fringe festival darling. And Pat is the lovable comedy club underdog. The virtual world allows us to have each comedian in their own hometown bring laughter to everyone from across the country. So without further ado, Comics Not Otherwise Specified.
Hey guys, just want to check who's leading off. We Curran or Adam or Pat? I think that's Pat. It's Pat. Hey Pat.
Okay, so sorry about that. Usually we have Doug do our intro. Should have known that was my cue. Yeah, we'll get to that whole cue thing later on. But I'd like to thank you guys for showing up. It's your graduation, so without further ado, I'd like to start off by saying I can see you all out there, hopefully. Part of me is like knowing that you probably won't get the sarcasm tonight or today. Just to let you know, I'm okay with that. I have Asperger's, so neither do I. Some people are wondering, like, dude, You don't get sarcasm yet. You're trying to do stand-up comedy. How's this supposed to work exactly? And I'm here to tell you, sure, I have problems getting sarcasm, but when it comes to one-sided conversations and doing routines, I'm a natural. Yeah, this would usually be the point where I just point out like some neurotypical old man in the audience who probably doesn't get what autism is. I tell them like Asperger's is a high functioning form of autism, and I know you've heard that already. So they probably say, "Dude, you rock," and I'm always like, "Yeah, it's true. I do rock. Sure, it's mainly back and forth, but what am I supposed to do? I'm autistic." It's true. For us Aspies, rocking back and forth is what happens when your fight or flight kicks in and your flight's been delayed. It's also one of my biggest frustrations growing up because I rocked back and forth for years and I never once developed abs. Yeah. So as you can probably not tell right now, I'm having fun. Normally, when people with autism are having fun, you have no idea if we're having fun or not because we have such a limited range of emotions. If you're wondering, this is happy. Guess what? This is sad. You know what? This is mad. And guess what? You may not know this, but here's astonished. Speaking of facial expressions, I never know which one women are giving me. Is it disgust? Is it disdain or a tiny bit of jealousy? Like, does she find me creepy? Does my creepiness make her feel uncomfortable? Or is she jealous because my eyeshadow's natural? Some people have a smoky eye, mine are fire damaged. You guys are wonderful so far. I've stayed in a lot of social situations. I feel uncomfortable. For instance, I feel really uncomfortable around pool tables. It's not that I have a problem with the game per se. It's just that I have a problem with nonverbal cues. Yeah, I've also tend to have a problem with or uneasiness around homeless people. I've never known why. Maybe it's because I hate change and they're constantly asking for it. How can one cry and laugh at the same time? I don't know. I'm pretty sure everybody here has been vaccinated because we're autistic. And here's the thing, like I have this huge fear of needles, so I was like vaccine hesitant the first time. Then I remind myself, dude, you have Asperger's and there's no such thing as double autism. Yeah, that's what I love about anti-vaxxers. They're always like, vaccines cause autism in children, which has always made me wonder, like, how am I the worst case scenario? Like, think of it. There's other worst case scenarios. Trump, Hitler, the anti-vaxxer themselves. Another group that I don't really know about is like people who are looking for the cure to autism. I always thought the cure to autism was abstinence. You know, you neurotypical people stop loving each other, we stop happening. Uber autism, yeah. Autism on delivery, like skip the Asperger's. Yeah. Here's something that nobody else can talk about, but I recently found out that dogs can have autism. That's awesome. Raises another question though. if the dog has autism, does the human have to wear a service vest? Yeah, like many Aspies, I also suffer from imposter syndrome. In fact, I've suffered for so long, my imposter syndrome has imposter syndrome. For instance, there's times where I'm just sitting there wondering to myself, I don't deserve this. I thought imposter syndrome was for successful people. Yeah, I have a lot of anxiety as well. It's probably easier for me to talk about the fears that I don't have. For one, I'll never suffer from FOMO or fear of missing out due to the fact that I'm autistic and missing out is my default setting. You're probably wondering, like, why is he on stage still? And my question is, any rational autistic person would ask right now, where is the stage? I don't see one. It's not here. Some of you are probably wondering, like, some of my jokes may have been a little off color for you, but I always tend to remind neurotypical audiences of this one fact. I'm autistic, so me saying anything is a miracle. Okay, with that, I'd like to want you to give a warm applause for this next comic. Give it up for Adam Schwartz, everybody.
Hi. Thanks so much for having
Virtual
me.
high five.
So, hi everyone. Congrats on graduating. I'm usually late to achieve everything. I was late to graduate. I was late to get my first date. I was even late today. So when I was 12, my mom called me in the kitchen and said, I've got some bad news. And I said, what? Where are Pop-Tarts? And she said, no, honey, you've got autism. And I thought for a second, thank God. To them, it was still Pop-Tarts. I just thought being autistic meant I was predisposed to being an autist. So I said, but Ma, we're Jewish. Shouldn't I be a doctor or a lawyer, not an autist? So as many of you guys know, having autism, I tend to have struggles with sensory issues, and you can't actually go up to a large table and be like, can everyone please be quiet? I can't take your order if you all keep talking. That's it, no food for you. Also been my sensory issues. I like spicy food near my food. I like spices near my food, but not actually touching. I also struggle with not having a filter. So that means that I tend to say inappropriate things at the wrong time, like the truth. So I'd be a horrible politician. One time I had a presentation, someone told me, you should go into politics. No, I shouldn't. For one thing, I've got no filter, so I'd be a horrible liar. Another thing, I'm so indecisive, I can't decide whether I want ravioli or ravioli or ravioli. So how am I going to decide whether to open for business, or open for business? And since I'd be so useless at it, I'd probably get elected. And then whenever I mess up, people will be like, at least he didn't act like a politician. So being autistic, I'm also extremely literal. So the other day I went to the restaurant for my granny's 80th birthday, and I went to the washroom to hide. When I was there, I saw some really interesting graffiti. Someone had written, call Stacy, have a good time. So I was like, I want to have a good time. I'll look into that. So I called her up and I was like, let's play Monopoly. So when she showed up, she was like, hey there, big spender. Want to spend some money on me? I was like, great, you're here. You can be the thimble. I'll be the boot. So when I called her up 3 weeks later, she was like, okay, but this time I get to be the boot. Also, another time that's not being extremely literal is difficult is when my brother ordered dessert. He ordered death by chocolate. I was like, don't do it. You've got a lot to live for. Another characteristic that's common among autistic people, as most of you already probably know, is that people with autism have poor social skills. So I went to these social skills classes put on by Autism Society Manitoba, which were really great. They taught us how to give a woman a compliment. Isaac, how would you give a woman a compliment? You've got a really nice smile, like my mom. No, no one wants to be compared to your mom. Jacob, do you want to go next? You've got a really nice leather purse. Why, thank you. Do you know that it takes 6 cows to make a leather purse? No, no one wants to know how many cows are in the leather purse. Adam, do you want to go next? I like trains. That's great, but it's not really a compliment. Do you want to try again? Trains are made of metal, go toot toot. We also learned what not to say on a first date. Like, your sister's really cool. Is she single? Or, how much are those milkshakes again? Eesh. Or, does this belt make my butt look big? We also did some role playing. Here we go. I'm wearing my sexiest underwear, and we're gonna role play my sexiest fantasies. Hey, Tinkerbell. Hey, I see that you brought Ariel. So it turns out Autism Society Manitoba is a slightly different idea when it comes to role playing, and that you should never discuss your sexual fantasies in a church basement, at least not in Winnipeg, or in a Wendy's drive-through. Another characteristic that's common among autistic people is that we tend to have poor hand-eye coordination. So this one time, I was teaching a unit about when I was trying to be a teacher, I was teaching a unit about the teeth, and I was upside down. Fortunately, no one noticed. But this other time, I was teaching a unit about the Antarctic, and one kid raised their hand, and I was like, yes, Jimmy. He said, sir, how come the iceberg is riding the penguin? Well, I explained, in my country, icebergs ride penguins. So for those of you people who don't know what autism is, I often compare it to the cooking show, Cutthroat Kitchen. So here's how that show works. There's a bunch of chefs in the kitchen competing for $1 million. And one of the chefs pays money to sabotage one of the other chefs by replacing his knives with a rolling pin. And I thought, that's a great metaphor for autism. Because having autism, it's like as if we're all in the same kitchen, but the world has got together and replaced our social skills with a rubber chicken, and our hand-eye coordination with a rubber chicken, and all of our friends with a rubber chicken. And let me tell you, rubber chickens make horrible friends. So, growing up, everyone always fought about who got me. It got so bad the teacher had to sit and be like, look, everyone, you have to take turns. Jessica, you got to break his pencil in half yesterday. And Kyle, you got to give him a wedgie. So this afternoon, it's Julia's turn to tease him. Because I cannot read body language, I can never tell why someone was smiling at me. Did they want to be my friend? Did they like me? Or was it they're trying to bully me? Hey, Julia, how's it going? Hey, I thought you guys it was Kyle's turn to bully me. Yeah, we switched days. He's got a doctor's appointment this afternoon. Growing up, I still try to have similar friendships. Like I'll meet someone in a back alley, and I'll be like, and they'll be like, "Do you have my money?" And I'll be like, "Yeah." So, do you see the Winnipeg Jets game the other night? And he'll be like, "Huh, someone's coming. Pretend I'm mugging you." It makes me so nostalgic for my friendships from elementary school. Another, so can I ask you guys, what's your favorite machine in the gym? My favorite machine in the gym is the water fountain. I can go in there so long. I can do like 20 reps. And people are always impressed by my athletic prowess. Like, are you gonna be that much longer? Are you almost done there? And then just keep on trucking. And when someone gets too close to me in line, like, look, buddy, I've got this. I don't need you to spot me. So, and the locker room has got to be the worst place for being naked. Let me start by saying that some places it's okay to be naked, such as the bedroom with the lights off and your socks on, the doctor's office if you're the patient, in the shower. Otherwise, you shouldn't be naked for more than 3 Mississippis. But there's some guys in my gym who walk around buck naked, whether it's weighing themselves or having conversations or even playing Sudoku, currently putting some gitch. So if I had to give it as a performance review as an audience, I'd say I really appreciate you guys coming. You guys are a bit slow on some of the jokes, but I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you. So coming to the stage is Victoria's pride and joy, Kieran Dobbs.
Hey, good evening, ladies. So, I'm actually on the autistic spectrum, so if I seem rude or impolite, or if I'm not making eye contact, I just want you to know it's because I really feel like you're not worth the effort. I was doing a gig a while back in a place called Esquimalt. I'm actually a lot better now. But I was making jokes that are autism related, and I didn't make it clear that I actually had autism, that I was on the spectrum, and someone went up to the producer afterwards to complain about my act, and he asked the producer if I was actually autistic or if I was drunk. Fun fact, he can be both. And stoned. So I was doing this other gig. Producer comes up to me afterwards, told me that some woman came up to him and told him how kind of a well-intentioned condescending thing where she told him how happy she was he put a challenged person on the show. And I kind of looked him up and down and said, you know, if you dressed better, people would stop calling you that. When I was in so it took them so growing up, it took doctors years to settle on a diagnosis for me. It took them until I was, I don't know, 15 or 16 years old before they finally said, okay, we'll just say you're autistic, and somehow I'm the slow one. But you know, they but I took the diagnosis. They said that the autism diagnosis would help me get government funding and services and whatnot. I'm basically paid professionally to not recognize social cues. Because if you're good at something, you don't do it for free. A few years later, I took an assessment to see what kind of jobs I should do. There's a little graph on the results that we got back that had a bunch of different intellectual areas on it. And then a lot of them I scored pretty high in. The one I scored low in was processing speed. So I'm actually really smart. I just take my time getting there, ladies. Few of the jobs that are on the results when I got them back, the doctor said they put them through the computer, and it was a little embarrassing, the result that the computer came up with such weird results. Psychic consultant was one of the jobs that it said I should do, which honestly I did not see coming. Said I wanted to work with people, and one of the jobs was morgue attendant, which is kind of cryptic. Another job was Chinese medical practitioner. I couldn't be a medical practitioner and morgue attendant because that'd be a conflict of interest. I mean, if being a morgue attendant would really give me an incentive to do badly at the medical practitioner because I would want the business. But anyways, circus performer was actually one of them, and this is about as close as I'm going to get. Actually, I'm going to take a moment to brag. I'm going to be on Canada's Got Talent this season, and my episode will be airing on April 18th. So tune into that, where you'll find some of these same jokes even funnier in front of a laughing audience than my empty apartment. It's on City TV, and I shared the stage with some actual circus performers. Thank you. Anyways, I'm gonna grab my guitar. My sister told me that Canada's Got Talent voters tend to be biased in favor of singers. So, and then I reminded her that, hey, what happens to a turtle? What happens to a turtle? What happens to a turtle? What happens when it dies? Oh, record tortoise. I use that one at parties to come out of my shell. All right, I'm going to end this with a song. I am going to dedicate my last song to, I'm looking at the chat thing. I'm just picking a random person. I'm going to go with Brittany McLeod, who is in the chat thing there. Hey, Brittany, I'm dedicating this last song to you. It's called Everybody Dies. When you have a newborn child and you look them in the eyes, try not to remind yourself that everybody dies. When you're hoping and you're dreaming and you're planning for your life, you're wasting your time because everybody dies. Everybody dies, your life will fade away. If you're not cremated, then your body will decay. Everybody dies, life is meaningless. Try not to go crazy staring into the abyss. You might think you are prepared, but death will catch you by surprise. You will not see the end coming. Thank you. Oh, and your last and final act from our comedy group tonight, the wonderful, talented Michael McCreary. Woo woo!
Karin, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Dean, if at any point there is any issue with my connection or my audio, do not write me in the chat. I'm coming to you via cellular interface. I'm coming to you live via flip phone. If there's anything wrong with my connection, please jump onto the call and let me know. I'm sorry, guys. I just want to say I've been having technical difficulties all day. And from that, I have learned that the scariest thing to a comedian in a post-COVID world is not bombing. It's Bell Internet. All right. Like, my parents are still on a landline. Like, I'm pretty sure my parents are still on dial-up. Like, if someone calls my parents, the show is over. Okay. Like, I've been stuck with my parents for COVID, unlike other times where I'm stuck with them because I live in a trailer in their backyard. It's not a joke. It's true. They like to tell me I'm their favorite son. But if that's the case, how come Andy gets to sleep inside? I'm pretty convinced that they're the reason I'm autistic. No one really knows where autism comes from, right? Like, for the longest time, I thought I got it from my parents until I found out that neither of them had ever been formally diagnosed. But if you took my mom and if you took my dad and you put them together, I would make sense, right? So my dad, and I'm going to tread lightly because my dad is literally just out of frame here. And he's letting me stay here for free. So I'm gonna try and stick to the truth, or the very best white lies. If he were autistic, hypothetically, he'd be what we would call the anal retentive kind. All right, like, he loves rules. He's not quick on irony. I asked Dad once if he wanted to watch the movie Groundhog Day, and his response was, "No, I find that movie really tedious." So driving with my dad is the most anal he will ever be. It is a truly Pavlovian experience. What I mean by that is, in his words, we never stop for bathroom breaks, and the only music we're allowed to play in the car is Supertramp's Breakfast in America. So now, every time I hear that song, "Take a look at my girlfriend," I pee myself. So that's Dad. Mom, on the other hand, is just scary, right? Like, for the first 14 years of my life, I thought she had Tourette's. Turns out I'm just really annoying. But she's mellowed out, you know? She started playing ukulele, an instrument that people hate for some reason. Like, why do you guys hate the ukulele? Is it because the ukulele only has 4 strings instead of 6, like a real guitar? Is it because people draw bad dandelions on them? Is it because when I hold one, it looks like I'm holding a little baby guitar? Well, I like those things. I think those things are very cool. And when I like that ukuleles can only play somewhere over the rainbow. I like that white girls have YouTube channels dedicated to playing songs we like on the ukulele. And when I see you guys laugh at those things, it makes me mad. So mad that I would play my ukulele right now to spite you if it wasn't in the ukulele shop. So my mom just turned 60, which means she's like really into garage sailing. She loves garage sailing. And you know what? I like garage sailing with my mom, which to the outsider looking in seems like it would be really boring. But have you ever been on the road with multiple 60-year-old drivers? It's incredible. It's like Mad Max. These ladies are up at 6 in the morning every Saturday, running each other off the road so they can be first in line at a liquidation sale at a Presbyterian church. Bifocal woman named Agnes are shoving people with walkers out of the way so they can pay $2 for a ceramic beaver dressed like a Mountie. These ladies are hardcore. And my mother's the hardest of them all. She's screaming, "Witness me," as she proceeds to chug some kid's entire pitcher of complimentary lemonade. Women are screaming, "Thunder don't, thunder don't." 2 women enter, 1 woman leave, as she proceeds to haggle with an octogenarian over the price of a stack of Cosmopolitans because she is not paying more than $4 for something that is going to live in her bathroom. And I love it. I love garage sailing with my mom, even though I know that everything she has bought will be repurposed as a future Christmas gift for me. It does not matter. I will still act surprised when I unwrap a used hoodie of Daffy Duck, who is also wearing a hoodie, because that was not my gift. My real gift was getting to watch her curb stomp an old lady with the same name as a pet chicken. I was talking about spending time with my parents during COVID. One of the things that we did to pass the time was play games. See, they hated movies. I hated charades. So we compromised and played movie charades. So it's at least that way no one's happy. And I got my dad as a partner, treading lightly. And the thing about my dad when it comes to movie charades is, God bless him, it's not his strong suit. Like, these are the kind of hints my dad gives. Hints like, what is that? It's Fight Club. You're not supposed to talk about it, right? Like hints that only make sense to him. At one point, he just started pantomiming a wallet. I said, what is that? He says, it's Jaws. I'm buying a bigger boat. That's not even a scene in the movie. So finally, it's my turn, right? And I get the movie Seven, a movie that I hadn't even seen, but I know how to count to seven. So I flash my dad one of these. He is not getting it. So I don't get mad. I flash him another seven and a third seven. Finally, he gets it. He goes, 21. It's tough living with your parents and not feeling like a failure on some level. You folks are doing great. You hit a milestone I never did, which was graduate. Like I didn't hit post-secondary. I'm single. And apropos of that, I said to my folks, for my birthday, I want something resembling adult responsibility. For my birthday, I want you guys to get me a pet. So they got me a cactus, which is a polite way of saying, son, we have no faith in you as a nurturer. We don't trust you looking after a living thing, let alone a plant. So here is a special succulent that can survive the Earth's harshest climates so long as you remember to water it twice a year. Long story short, I lost the cactus. But I used to do adult stuff, at least before the pandemic hit. I used to travel a lot. I remember the first time I ever traveled, I didn't even plan where I was going to go to. I just ran up to my room, I spun my globe, and I threw a dart at it. And I promised myself wherever this dart lands, I will go to. But because I threw a dart at a moving target, it came back and hit me in the face. So I tried again with a map, Google Maps. I blew up my laptop. But before my screen cleft in twain, I saw one beautiful word, Japan. Now, I understand we're speaking to a mostly autistic audience today, so I'm going to give you guys some real advice, real autistic advice. Japan is the one place where we can truly be happy. See, the food never touches. Nobody makes eye contact. And the only mode of transportation is trains. It was paradise, but I ruined it for myself. See, I brought someone with me who claimed to sort of know Japanese. 7:49. Okay. Sort of know Japanese. Some of you don't think this is a problem. Let me explain why it is. There is no one more annoying than someone who only knows 20% of what they're talking about. So me and this guy, we get to the Tokyo airport, and God bless everybody in there. They spoke flawless English. And yet my guy could not wait to bust out some sumimasen, taxi o doku desu ka? Poor Japanese lady's like, yes, sir, taxis are yellow. Another bit of autistic wisdom. When you are in a foreign country and you are speaking another person's language, and that person immediately defaults to English, stop. We call that a universal social skill, which somehow the neurotypical guy did not pick up on. But somehow the autistic guy did. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much. Congratulations on graduating. We have been comics not otherwise specified. I will now relinquish the floor to your wonderful master of ceremonies. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm
Okay, good.
ready
You're
to
there. You're
speak.
there. Everybody's still laughing, including Nero and me. I'm gonna let you do it because I need to keep laughing. So good luck.
All right. So I was, I should have known when Gail and Erin were like, so Naru, you can be the MC after the comics. I should have known this was going to happen. I am the ugliest laugher in the whole world, and unfortunately the local language thing that really got me. Sorry. I okay. Hmm. So I'm supposed to be introducing the serious and extremely sober and formal part of this ceremony. So it's a good thing that we didn't like start this off by me wheezing until I have uh, until I'm about to cry. And yes, Bailey, it is time to be graduated. Gail and Aaron, they're. I don't think it's mean. I think it's genre savvy. Yeah. Um. Unfortunately, even the degree in English literature doesn't get me to genre savvy because it still had to contend with the powerful I can't extrapolate out of this that's happening to in my brain pan. So, uh, Jenna would like to convey her apologies. She's not able to attend today, but on her behalf, I would like to just, and on behalf of the rest of the team, I'd like to just say thank you all for being here. It's awesome to have you here. It is so good to see so many of you. Because I mean, I've interacted with most of you except for I think the Humber grads, and it's just yeah, it's really nice to see all these names I'm familiar with, all of you all coming back, and yeah, just getting to hang out again. It feels like. So, I'd like to invite Christina to deliver a celebratory message just on behalf of the Will side of things. Christina, take it away.
Hello, thank you, Naru. It's hard to follow and act like that, and also to follow after you for giving such a great introduction, but I'll do my best. So hello, graduates, and welcome. Not only have you overcome barriers to be here today, but you've paved the road for change, as well as shown employers how incredible and valuable you are. Regardless of where your journey brought you, each of you have found success in your own ways, whether that's taking a chance in this program, finding employment, or discovering the strength to advocate for yourself so that you experience this program the way that was right for you. Your friends and family are so proud, and there are many more proud moments to come. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves today and that you've taken some time to reflect on how far you've come on your journey. Congratulations.
Thank you, Christina. Dean, if you'd like to line up the presentation with the certificates, that'd be lovely. Or Owen, whoever's doing that. Just let me know. Yeah, it's certificate time, Sylvia. And yeah, let's as soon as that's ready to go, I can just read out everyone's names who's graduating today. And I also want to say that there are a number of people who are currently doing their work experience who may or may not have been here today because they couldn't, take time off of their work experience to come graduate from the work experience that they're on. So I'm going to be doing some shout outs. Speaking of shout outs, Brittany McLeod shouting out to our most hilarious issue at okay, so the story about the baby duck. At one of our previous grads, we had a young man who was who at the end of the grad, we usually have a bit of unstructured, semi-facilitated time where we just say, if you have anything to say, anybody to thank, please do that. And he said, I've prepared a musical piece for the staff and my teachers and friends. And we said, oh, that sounds lovely. And he said, yeah, I'm going to play it. And then he turned his camera around to reveal that he was sitting at his piano, and he played a beautiful, really complex piece. I think it was, someone said it was Bach. Beautiful, really complex 5-minute piece. And we were all just sitting there, just like absolutely spellbound, hyperfixating, delighted. He finished the piece. He said, thank you all very much. And then he picked up a huge bottle of baby duck wine and took a great big long swig on camera. It was honestly the favoriteest thing that's ever happened at one of these grad ceremonies for me, because it was just the perfect kind of like mic drop or wine pickup, as it were. So This is not in any way an encouragement for any of y'all to use the unstructured time to demonstrate your beverage imbibing skills. Just putting that out there. Dean, are we good to go with the presentation? Owen? Anybody? Bueller? There we go, Dean.
There should be Anton should have in there.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, I just see the main connection slide though. Uh-oh. By the way, if you hear a cat in the background going wah wah, it's the cat that Erin accused me of having earlier in the panel. He's an orc. You know what? I don't know what he is. Not only does he say wah, he says low, he says lum 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 lum. My best guess is that he's some kind of transmutation incident. We found him in a PetSmart. He's a pet, he's smart. Unfortunately, horribly, disastrously smart. And all right, at some point we'll figure out what his actual ancestry is, species and magic class wise. So, okay, there we go. Wonderful. I see the screen. So if you'd like to see the screen instead of, my mug on the side, please feel free to expand it. Nathan has figured it out. He is a servant of chaos. He absolutely is. All right. So, okay, so I'm going to start reading out the names as and who is this? Anton, are you going to be scrolling as I do? Hello?
Yep, sure am.
Okay. You can just scroll through the slides and I'll read out the names as they appear. So congrats first to our cohort for Norquest May 2022. You all did damn. You were our first in-person cohort that stayed in person, so y'all had some interesting technical hiccups to contend with as we all adjusted to not being online anymore, but you dealt with it like champions, and here you are. So first we have Yara Bano, a certificate of acknowledgement. Next, just keep scrolling, I'll go with it. Joshua Bezant, congratulations on completing the program. Valerie Bratt, I see you in the chat, V. Congrats on completing the program. Second right it is. Brittany Fantasy, congrats on completing the program. Are you in the audience somewhere? Garrett Gullickson, congrats on completing the program and on being so patient with me with the tech return. Rafael Marbil, I've seen you in the chat. Congrats, man, you did it. Michael Tachi Menson, who is also patient with me. Congratulations. Emily Aho, certificate of acknowledgement. Emily, you should be very proud of all you've accomplished. Congrats. Logan R. Khan, certificate of completion. I don't see Logan here today, but congrats. John Allen. McKinley, I think I saw you in the audience at some point. Congratulations on completing. Mango Berezowski, the awesomest name of this cohort. Congrats on completing. Austin Conlon, congratulations on completing the program. Gareth Elder, Congrats on completing the program. Heather Fitzsimons. Congrats on completing the program. And Raphael, you'll actually get a copy of these in the mail. A fancy old thing. Thomas Gerlach, congratulations on completing the program. Kieran Hines, congrats again. Hey, there you are in the chat. Melody Lee, congrats on completing the program. Don't know if you're here today, I hope you are. Anne Lysenko, are you here? Alex, anywhere in the chat? Congratulations on completing the program. Ariana Moritz, congratulations. Aiden McLean, congrats. I hope you're here today and I hope Neola is with you. Holden Moore, who have moved across the province to attend our program. Congrats, dude. You handled a lot of change really gracefully. Leonard Morrison, Certificate of Acknowledgement. Congrats on completing. Ellie Lewis, congrats on getting through the program. Raphael, if you're worried about your mailing address, mail me where you currently are, please.
These are my mindful products that are worth the hype. This leaves skin with a brighter, glowing complexion. A go-to palette for day to night. If you're
Dean,
looking for
switch to an ad. YouTube ad. Okay, Autism CanTech National Grad, sponsored by you. So, Humber March 2022 cohort. Aaron Norris, congratulations on completing the program. Alan Robert, congrats on finishing the program. Casey von Valraven, congrats on finishing the program. Christopher David, congrats on finishing the program. Daniel Silverio, congrats on finishing the program. Isaiah Brown, Isaiah in the chat, I think. John Nathaniel. Nicholas von Valraven, congrats. Jonathan Chung, thank you for being part of the program and congrats on finishing. Joseph Carroll, congrats on finishing the program. Landon Rohal, congratulations on finishing the program. Marisa Dunn, congrats on finishing. Michael Morales, congrats on finishing the program. Miles Davila, congrats on finishing. Nicholas Lewis, congrats on finishing the program. Oh, got him. Nicholas Littleproud, congratulations on finishing the program. Nicholas Flowers, congrats on finishing the program. Oh, this is the cohort of the Nicholases, huh? Pascal Van Halla. Congrats on finishing. Oh no, my screen froze. Sam Bull, is it still on Sam Bull? Congrats. Oh, there it is. Spencer Jasmines, congrats on finishing the program. And now on to Norquest August 2022, our split cohort, which handles hybrid learning. Fancy folk. Anson Alexander, Congrats on finishing the program. I see Christina yelling in the crowd there. Ben Parks, congrats on finishing. Benton Jenkinson, congrats on finishing the program. I know you had your struggles, but you did really well. Chelsea Dobson, congrats on completing the program. Christopher Lee, congrats on completing the program. Eden Fuchs, congrats on completing. Eric Godin, congrats. Jamie Goodman, I think I see you in the crowd. Congrats, Jamie. Josh Derbyshire, congrats on completing, man. Joshua Proctor, congrats on completing the program. Liam, it's your turn now. Congrats. Say something in the chat so I can yell at you. Lucy Elliott, congrats on completing. If you're here today, you did really awesome. Mariah Kyle, congratulations. Worked hard. Mars Moon, congratulations. McLaren Packard, congratulations. Nathan Snook, I see you're here. I see Patrick's here too. Congrats to you both. Oh, the music got real fancy for you. Congrats. Vivian Lewis, I see you there as well. Congrats. Congratulations. Okay, I just want to shout out a few names as well, because there's sorry, Sylvia, the rest of whom? Bailey, yeah, that's weird. I'm sorry, I thought I got your name there for sure. Bailey Brosso, you definitely graduated. So did Aaron. There's a few people, in fact, who were missed in this group. Give me one moment, please. This is extremely not okay. Give me one moment. I actually have the list, and I'm going to just go over who else was not acknowledged here. Jason Rybach. Sorry, I just have a few more people. They weren't on the slideshow. I think you got sent a cutoff version, but there's a few others. Jason Rybach, Xavier Kepney. They're going to be in the group of people who are, well, they were left off of that one because their work experiences haven't ended yet. However, I see a few people saying your names haven't been there. Heather, Tirath, Ayo, you're all still in classes or work experience, so you're not gonna you're on the shout out list, which is coming now. So yeah, Isadora, your work placement's still ongoing, and yeah, it sounds like there's a whole bunch still in progress, but you're no less important, and your slideshow is coming right up. So participants still undergoing will, and a lot of the Douglas College folks are still doing that. So I see several people here are confused that it was for the course. Yet the thing is that the whole thing is the course, right? There's the 4 months of classes, and then there's the 2 month of work experience. So it's you're technically enrolled in back-to-back courses until you're done your work experience. So let's go with the shout out list for folks whose work experience is ongoing. Tirath, yes, we will be sending out your certificate after that. And you're all invited for those of you who are still doing your work experiences now. We will be having another celebration in July. Yeah, so line them up, Anton. Let's go. August cohort, we have Alex Leons, Luna Locock, Honora Alain, who's finishing tomorrow, Noah McClellan Junk, Jason Rybach, Aaron Auger, Damon Shu, Bailey Brousseau, Carter Brooks, Jennifer Ho, Ashley Stout, who is a champion, Julia Frank, and Heather Leung. The Douglas October cohort, we're currently doing work experiences. Amir, David, Dorian, Jackson, Jeremiah, Joshua, Regan, Liam, Jefferson, Quinn, Thomas, Travis, Xander, Melissa, Alex, and Brad. Congrats to you all on finishing your courses and, soon graduation as well. October Douglas cohort, part 2. Maggie Kenyon, Ben McDonald, Josh Martins, Mark James Mayor, Ryan Amasta, Lauren Politica, Thomas Provencher, Mari Rogers, Tirath Sandhu, Colin Stark, Ramsey Yassin, Celine Valancourt, Luke Chen, Xavier Katani, and Caleb Hartley. Congrats to all of you. You worked really hard. Humber October cohort. Max Schwartz, Matthew Gillen, Natalie Hong, Brando Spatola, Daniel Prickards, and congrats on the door prize. Sylvia Samolenko, Daniel Myers, Yasina Zaldin, Daniel Schaefer, William Cleanis, Noah Armstrong, Orion Chong, Caleb Winter, Sultan Edwards, Dory Van Hout, Nicola Giras, and Meg Monty. Congrats to all of you. David Foote, Thomas Ham, Alia Dale McFarlane, Michael Rice, Marion Monzo, Cyrus Henrique, Michael McKay, Marcus Montenegro, Liam DeJesus Joyner, Mohammed Tahir Zakiullah, Kevin Alexander, John Gilmore, Elijah Cortez, Will Baines, and Colin Spinney. Congrats! And that's everyone. Liam, there are so many Liams, man. So congrats to all of you. Once you're all done your will, we'll be getting in touch with your certificates and other information. And yeah, and of course, you will all receive your certificates, like the physical copies of the certificates in the mail. And new doors opening, new opportunities opening.
Count of 3. We're gonna try and get really loud.
Pause the music, Dean. Just, it's all good. That's the end of the deal. So, congrats everyone, and you got some of you got certificates, some of you are going to get certificates, but 2 of you are going to get door prizes. So our first door prize for now is from Retrophiliac Art, owned by Margot Wosk, who's an autistic non-binary self-taught artist. Woo! Designer, writer, entrepreneur, disability advocate, and activist based in Vancouver, whose designs of pins, patches, and stickers look to break down barriers and eliminate stigma. Who is it? Who's the lucky one? Bailey! Congrats! Bailey, please email, in fact, all of the winners, please email me and I'll make sure that y'all get your certificates and the door prizes as well. So there you go, Bailey, a small gesture of apology from the universe for your name being misspelled on that. And don't worry, I'll make sure it's corrected before you get the actual one in the mail. Our second door prize draw is from Mudra Planner, which is mudralife.com. It's a very interesting planner which has been created specifically with the kind of buffering the issues that neurodiverse brains have with organizing and task breakdowns. The Mudra Life Planner, it's about visualizing your week based on what's important, where you must be, and what you must accomplish, with lots of space around it to write everything going through your mind. Emerson, you were invited in case you wanted to attend the workshops and things. You are in the October app cohort, and your graduation ceremony is going to be all the way out at the end of July. I'll be in touch with you about that soon. Congrats, Valerie. Look at you go. But this isn't and while this is a prize for Valerie, there's also an opportunity for all of you. If any of you go and check out the Mudra Life Planner, I'm going to pop the link in the chat here. If any of you check it out and find that you want, if you like it, you can use this code to get 20% off of your planner if you purchase one. Code for 20% off. Great. So this kind of brings us to the end of our official agenda for today. Brittany, I hear you, man. Is what's more on brand than having a planner as a gift, as a door prize, right? So for anyone who would like to stick around, as Dean is saying in the chat, the after party room is open all night. So all you have to do is hit refresh on this page. You'll find yourself in the after party room, and you can just kind of click on any table you see and join the people there. And you can, of course, see who's at the table before you join. It's like a real table that way. So you don't have to interact with all, I believe, 80 odd of us. So in closing, thank you all for coming. I'd like to give a shout out to Connection for dealing with all of the assorted issues that have happened today, what was called the crunchy tech issues that we dealt with. Thank you. Big shout out to Gail and the rest of the committee for organizing this event. And of course, to all our partners and staff and instructional assistants and everybody who was here and everybody who wished they were here, and participants past and future, and all of your support networks. Remember that the opposite of fear isn't bravery, it's curiosity. Go forth, conquer the world. Thank you all.
It's pretty good. Do the slides there.
Yeah, that was good. That was a tough day. That was a lot of weird things happening. Oh, okay. Give me a minute. Leave my table so you don't see me.